He was betrayed by his friends. Even though he was S rank, he was a failure. His assassin class was bad. When the most powerful S rank boss appeared, he was used as bait. But upon discovering that the boss could speak and wanted to destroy the earth, the assassin gave it his all alone. In the end, the boss returned to its world, but the boy was about to die. A system appeared before him, and then he went back in time. His beloved sister was still alive. And this story is going to become more and more like solo leveling. Now he needs to become an adventurer to save her from illness. Returning home, the system appeared to him again, telling him to do 10 hill dashes, 20 pull-ups, and greet 30 people. He quickly started his hard work of greeting people. Do Japanese or Korea have some problem with greetings? Soon he started running, and finished by doing pull-ups. After completing everything, he went straight to level 3. On the same day, he went to register as an adventurer. He really was level 3. That was something that would normally take 3 months to achieve. Now he needed to wisely choose a class. In his past life, he was a failed assassin, but this time he chose not to select any class. Everyone mocked him. After finishing, he ran to a shop and bought the biggest sword he saw. It was almost bigger than he himself was. Size isn't everything, folks. Don't worry. Then he went to the beginner dungeon, but this time he went alone. He quickly cut down some F-rank slimes and skeletons, filling his bag with magic stones. Suddenly, a rare E-rank class monster appeared. The monster was strong, but he hadn't skipped choosing a class for no reason. In 15 years, it would be discovered that someone without a class can evolve 10 times faster than any class. When he returned to the guild, the receptionist was impressed by how many magic stones he brought back. An adventurer, thinking he was lying about killing a rare E-rank monster, tried to intimidate him, but his arm was successfully damaged. Now he'll be practicing nofap in the wrong month for being reckless. Our hero, on the other hand, has a wallet full of money to spend on Roblox. The system suddenly gives him strange missions. This time he has to sing in front of the station for 5 minutes. And there he was, our shoppy version Michael Jackson, delivering his daily dose of secondhand embarrassment. As a reward for embarrassing himself, he received an appraisal ring. Very convenient plot. I liked it. Returning to the dungeon, he farmed for hours until reaching level 4. Then he put all his points into luck. Is he going to a casino or something? He filled his bag with stones as always and returned to the guild. This time a man wanted to invite him to a dungeon raid, the Abyss Dungeon S rank. But when he told the guy that he was just a newbie and classless, he became a laughingstock. The man mocked him to his face and left saying he was just a loser. Our hero, on the other hand, doesn't care, since his bag is full of stones as usual. However, this time he attracted someone else. Thick legs, like a construction worker's, a hot redhead appeared to greet him. She was very interested in him for being classless, imagining there must be some hidden advantage behind it. But it's a classic state secret, and she likes how meticulous and clever he is. She was Alice Takagi from the Carnelian Rage clan, an S-rank adventurer. Even the receptionist was shocked that the boy was always in the middle of trouble. Alice, just like the other man, also wants him to join the Abyss Dungeon. Takoyaki asks if that's okay even though he's classless, and she says he's welcome as long as he's strong. The boy is like that meme, extremely suspicious but can't prove anything. In the end, he accepts the girl's request. What wouldn't we do for a redhead, right? She also said she would send him permission to enter a D-rank dungeon. Suspicious meme again. Suddenly, the clerk said she would process the payment. The redhead was impressed that he had earned 90,000 kwanzas just from the beginner dungeon. With his pockets full, he already won over the gold digger who started asking him to buy her sweets. So off we go to the D-rank dungeon. Even though he was wearing cold weather clothes, he didn't expect the air conditioning to be set to 16 degrees. Suddenly, the first D-rank monster appeared. It's time to farm.
The two were about to engage in a fierce battle, but the system interrupted our boy once again. He needs to hold his breath for 60 seconds, and Kiyomi was very upset with such a ridiculous mission. Right after reading the system's message, he saw one of the creature's paws coming his way. Dodging it was easy. Since reaching level 4, he had become much stronger. Now he was ready to attack, executing a clean cut on one of the creature's arms. However, he was able to notice that his strike wasn't deep enough, and he also needs to complete the system's mission, holding his breath for 60 seconds. Kiyomi is determined to become stronger, and he's already 10 seconds without breathing. The monster completely ignores his condition. While our boy tries to defend against the attacks, that minute without breathing feels like an eternity. Until finally, he manages to overcome this challenge, and the system will give him another reward. Feeling his strength increase significantly, Kiyomi realized he had reached level 5. Using the sword dance against the creature, his cut was able to turn its body into a puzzle. Using another technique, he transformed that monster into an inanimate object, leaving behind a huge carcass abandoned in the ice. With this, he also acquired a new skill, an ice barrier that protects against excessive cold, making exploring this dungeon much easier. But his last system task was very difficult. He thought the difficulty was being adjusted. Having stood still for a few seconds, his body was almost covered by snow. So our boy continued advancing through the frozen desert until he started chasing a rabbit that lives in that place, a level E creature. Finally, the boy managed to get close enough to attack. But as soon as he struck, he saw the rabbit completely dodge it. As if that wasn't enough, the creature even mocked our boy's slowness. Knowing he wouldn't be able to catch it, he decided to ignore the rabbit, as he had already collected several magic stones. While drinking a hot beverage, he began to think that it might be enough, feeling even more grateful for Alice's invitation, as he managed to gather many experience points in that place. Moreover, she also possesses exceptional beauty. Our boy still doesn't feel comfortable thinking about it, but it's very hard to ignore this fact. After drinking his beverage, he decided he would explore as much as he could that day. That's when he heard a scream of despair. Near where he was, an adventurer was being completely beaten. Some of his companions had already been turned into a t-shirt print. What was left of that group was a girl who was now unable to defend herself. In front of her was a huge, invisibly dangerous rabbit. The girl closed her eyes, expecting the worst. But before the creature could completely crush her body, our protagonist arrived to save the day. The creature can smell something different in that place. This rabbit is a level D creature and also rare. It's the boss rabbit. Kiyomi is aware of the danger rare creatures can pose. Before placing the girl on the ground, he took out a small handkerchief and placed the girl on it, stating he would help her with that task. Having never been treated well in her life, and not having had a present father, at the slightest sign of male affection, the girl was enchanted. Her companions realized they were being rescued and thanked our protagonist, but also asked what class he belonged to. My god, I swore the guy in green clothes had become a memory. Kiyomi confidently tells them that he doesn't belong to any class, which left the adventurers very worried. Even though they are worried, our protagonist said that, thank God, he managed to arrive at that place. Now with his sword in hand, he was ready to fight that dreadful creature. The furious rabbit charged at our classless adventurer, striking where he stood with a crushing blow, shattering several ice stones. Kiyomi had to defend himself from the debris that flew with the impact. At the same time, he saw the rabbit approaching furiously. Getting closer and closer, the dreadful creature revealed it had enormous teeth, and they weren't made for eating carrots. Kiyomi narrowly managed to dodge that bite, which could have been fatal. That rare monster is truly a fierce creature, so he needs to be very cautious. The longer the fight goes on, the more furious the rabbit becomes. The strength it has in its legs is impressive, capable of making huge leaps. Earlier, Kiyomi used his bonus points to increase his attack power to face creatures like these. Then, he would use his skills to cut it completely. The first of his strikes hit the rabbit squarely. The creature's eyes were dazzled by the brilliance of that power, for it was not something it could withstand. The snow was stained red, and that girl who was rescued watched it all from the sidelines, becoming increasingly enchanted by our protagonist's athletic ability. The other adventurers asked how someone without a class could use sword skills. Kiyomi has no intention of hiding his abilities, but completely ignoring those men's question, he went to the girl, asking if she could stand. Realizing our protagonist was speaking to her, the girl was so embarrassed she forgot how to speak. Stammering, she tried to say nonsensical things, and our protagonist asked if she was a healer. If so, she should heal the others now. The woman was disheartened, as she was expecting another kind of invitation from our protagonist. While she heals her companions, Kiyomi is thinking about the exorbitant amount of money he is making, all to heal his sister. One of the adventurers didn't expect to be helped by a healer and someone without a class one day in his life. Kiyomi realized that the value of a healer is only revealed in situations like this. But those men treated her with disdain, saying she was too slow to perform her function. The mage said he put her on his team for that kind of task, so she should be useful. The girl managed to restore their health with ease. Kiyomi realized these men still don't know the value the healer has, for they continue to complain to her, threatening to expel her from their team. Showing no moral fiber, the girl was emotionally shaken by that kind of abuse, until Kiyomi approached that adventurer, earnestly asking him to expel the girl from his team. She immediately became saddened, imagining she was truly useless. But to her surprise, Kiyomi said she shouldn't waste her true potential in a place like this and should join him. The girl, who was already completely smitten, now became overly emotional. Imagining it was a marriage proposal, Kiyomi made sure to say she misunderstood everything. Extending his hand to her, he said that one day she would be the strongest adventurer, asking if the woman could believe those words. After hearing those words, the woman realized our protagonist seemed very different from the others, so she decided to believe what he had said. More than that, she decided she would believe in him. Now that he received her response, Kiyomi asked the woman to trust him. He immediately said goodbye to her, stating he had urgent matters to attend to. The girl was left alone and quite confused after all that interaction. Back at the adventurers building, the receptionist asked if those magic stones were collected in the frozen shadow, for that is enough for him to be promoted to Class E, which left our boy very excited, as he can now enter D-level dungeons without being invited. For the receptionist, it's the first time she saw someone without a class being promoted. And now that he has been promoted, he will no longer be treated as a novice by others. Kiyomi realized his pace was very good, and the money he earns in the process is satisfying. He decided he would give a gift to Natsu, buying her various sweets. While announcing his arrival by knocking on the door, one of the nurses noticed he was carrying many sweets. Natsu, inside, was sleeping soundly. As soon as he met his sister, he found it very cute that she was sleeping. Then he gently stroked her head, thinking that this time he would do everything differently. He won't allow her to die, and he is gathering everything necessary for that to happen. Meeting that healer in the dungeon was extremely lucky, for her powers will be essential in his sister's treatment. Trying to store the sweets in the apartment's mini fridge, Kiyomi realized there wasn't enough space. He decided he would eat half of them to make space. And as he passed by the room, the nurse noticed that the boy bought the sweets for himself. Later that same day, Kiyomi went outside the hospital to call a certain person. He immediately introduced himself, and the woman said that his call at that time was unexpected. Kiyomi said he had already completed the task she gave him. Alice was impressed that he had gone through the dungeon without any class, while our protagonist thanked her for her help in his journey to become stronger. While the illustrator spent a lot of time drawing a scene where this woman was very comfortable, she asked if our protagonist had many expectations, and if he wasn't interested in learning about other dungeons. Kiyomi responded negatively to her. In fact, he wants to train a person, and Alice has a large network of contacts. He assured that this person is a promising healer. and he would like her to be in a team where there is also a necromancer. Alice seemed interested in that circumstance, saying that our protagonist's methods are very peculiar. He said that this way it will be much more interesting, while thinking that these two classes have synergy. People don't know yet, but the healer can grow exponentially. Alice said she could do that, but made it clear that our boy would owe her. Remembering the promise he made to the healer, he fully trusted what Alice could do for her. Ending the call, Alice couldn't stop thinking that this guy is a very interesting person. The next day, at the Adventurer's building, the receptionist gave him his Class E certificate, congratulating him for achieving it. Kiyomi took the certificate with great composure. His coldness left the receptionist impressed. She said that moving up a class is very important. Many give up before achieving something like that, but the poor thing doesn't know that in his past life, our boy was Class S. While they were talking, a person entered, causing a great commotion because he had his hands handcuffed. There were 3 people in that situation, all of them Class D adventurers, known as the Voracious. They committed several crimes, so other adventurers are afraid of what they might do. The receptionist said that choosing a leader for them is not an easy task, and now she is also having difficulty solving this problem. To her complete surprise, our protagonist volunteered for the task. She said that everyone is afraid to do something like that, but our boy said it's okay. But he was thinking that this task would be very financially advantageous, and he knows exactly how to handle those thugs. Given his stance, the receptionist decided to trust him, as he was already helping a lot. Presenting a contract to him, she let our protagonist choose what to do with his life. Around each of those thugs' necks was a kind of collar. They are capable of causing shocks, and the control of these collars was given to our protagonist. All he needs to do is press the button on his bracelet. Even though they are criminals, they can work as adventurers if they have the talent for it. Our boy was instructed to use the bracelet whenever necessary. One of the criminals, upon hearing this, said that they are also human and have rights. His companion told him to shut up and stop talking nonsense. Approaching our protagonist, he asked what his name was, as it was the least they needed to know. Kiyomi told them his last name, Aki, stating that it would be the last conversation they would have. Their handcuffs were finally released. The criminals said that the supervisor this time is very tolerant. All of them are about to enter the dungeon. Deep Hell is the name of the place, a level D dungeon, very hot and abundant in lava. The bandits realize they received another laborious task. Even they find it too cruel, but complaining won't change anything, because they also received a great opportunity in that task. While they were walking in the place, they all stopped, and the bandits started looking at our protagonist. Sensing that something was about to happen, Kiyomi immediately pressed the button on the bracelet, but it didn't activate any effect. That's when the first of the bandits removed the collar from his neck, immediately followed by his companions. Kiyomi realized that the bandits managed to sabotage the material somehow. Their leader also took off his shirt, stating that he had nothing personal against our boy, but they needed his life to end in that place. The system gave our protagonist an emergency mission. He needs to defeat all his enemies now, a complicated task. Kiyomi realized that the system levels the missions with the situations he encounters in life. The combat between them is about to begin. Before they could move, a large creature revealed itself, emerging from that sea of lava. A fireworm, a level D creature, is about to attack all of them. Its giant body easily destroys the rocks. Kiyomi noticed that the monster was heading towards one of those criminals, but he managed to strike the creature, breaking one of its jaws. All of this using only his hands. For the criminal, that monster is too weak. Even though they are in Class D, each of them is very close to moving to the next class. Kiyomi realized that the criminal must be a fighter. Now he is sure that victory is a possibility in this situation. The criminal was concentrating his power, charging an attack against our protagonist. Rushing towards him impetuously, he believed the battle would be decided with the first blow. Reacting quickly, Kiyomi managed to dodge the impact, but the rock that was hit by the criminal's punch was completely destroyed, which made our protagonist increasingly alert. While the fight between the two continued, the other criminals were worried about something else. One of them dug up a briefcase that was hidden in that place. Inside it were pieces of equipment. Everything was left there on purpose. Now that the criminals were armed, they believe it wouldn't be possible to be defeated together. Kiyomi thought that if the evaluation of the magic stone was spread, the truth will eventually be revealed. Another thing he noticed is that the fighter class is not compatible with equipment. He blocked the criminal's blow with great ease. Even so, the offensive power of the fighters is very great. Now that he managed to block his attack, he noticed the bald man was coming towards him like a locomotive. Kiyomi immediately positioned his sword to receive him, striking the blade against the bald man's armor, which had great defensive capability. Since he hadn't caused any damage, Kiyomi needed to gain distance from those men. The fighter class can be truly formidable, but there was a notable disadvantage in this class: proficiency with equipment. That's why our boy has a chance of victory. He decided to focus his attack on the bowl-cut head, who wasn't expecting to become a target. Acting quickly, he managed to block our protagonist's sword. The criminal believed that this would be his opportunity to stop being a background character in this story, avoiding our boy in a furious and wicked manner. But Kiyomi's reflexes are very sharp. Dodging that was easy. What he didn't expect was for the bald man to grab him from behind, throwing our protagonist's body far away. Because of the force of the impact, he also dropped the sword. Kiyomi is trying to recover from that, as even his breathing was disrupted. Facing 3 enemies at the same time is not an easy task, but now that the fight has extended for a while, he can perceive the difference in proficiency between them. Once again, assuming a combat stance, Kiyomi believes he can win against them. The leader of the criminals is no longer so optimistic, realizing that the boy is very capable. He ordered his henchmen not to hold back, as they need to resolve this as quickly as possible. They immediately obey the criminal leader, strengthening their bodies through a technique. thanks to our protagonist's mastery, he was informed by the system that he had learned a new skill. At that moment, the bowl-cut head launched an attack, believing that a classless adventurer couldn't do anything against him. Before his eyes could perceive it, our boy's sword was already inches from his chest. The poor guy still tried to block the attack with the axe. Classless adventurers learn very quickly, and with the physical strengthening technique, our protagonist managed to slice that criminal, who now doesn't seem so happy to be fighting against a classless adventurer. Kiyomi finally managed to take down the first of the criminals. His proficiency emerged at the perfect moment. The bald man was furious with what just happened and started running towards our protagonist. Kiyomi used the sword dance technique against him. Due to the distance, the blow was deflected by the bald man's armor, who realized that it was the technique of a monster. Now he was getting closer and closer to our boy. Destroying a wall of rocks that was behind Kiyomi, he asked how a classless person could use that ability. That's when he realized he hadn't hit anything at all with his body, and our protagonist managed to dodge by jumping high. While gravity fulfills its existential task, our boy is waiting for the contact, executing a perfect strike against the bald man. Now he has already defeated 2 of the criminals. Kiyomi realized that physical strengthening is an interesting skill. In that jump, he went very high. The remaining criminal realized that taking off his shirt wasn't enough, as now he needs to throw away the underwear he's wearing too. Completely terrified, he asked our protagonist what he really is, as he shouldn't be so strong, for that was not what they had agreed upon. He said this while calling for Akira. Kiyomi began to wonder who could have that name. Still pondering, he was surprised by someone who grabbed his leg. It was the bald man who had refused to board the Isekai Express. Holding our boy, he said he would manage to return to the outside world. Kiyomi realized his mobility was reduced. The last of the criminals was prepared to surprise him at the right moment, managing to hit our protagonist's face with his gauntlets. Kiyomi's body was thrown several meters inside the dungeon. The criminals wanted to believe it worked, as they had a stroke of luck. Kiyomi's vision became very blurry. The force of that impact was truly intense, and breathing was becoming increasingly difficult. That's when he remembered what happened with his sister, and that he has a mission to fulfill. Immediately, the criminals were frightened. Kiyomi was leaning on his own sword to stand up. He wouldn't lose this time, because he needs to save his sister's life. Determined to end the fight, he used physical enhancement once more, since he had enough reasons not to give up. Passing by the criminals with a single strike, he sent both to the wonderful world of nostalgia. Leaving behind only inanimate objects, the system notified that the emergency mission was completed. As a reward for this, he received a small key. Immediately, the system asked if he would like to use that item. Given everything that happened there, he decided he would use the key at another opportunity. Upon leaving the dungeon, he also brought with him the bodies of the criminals, presenting those men to the authorities once again, and the police asked what happened inside. But Kiyomi was too weakened to respond, and he fell to the ground. Immediately, help was called. Inside a luxurious room, a man is being informed by his subordinates that there was interference in his plans. He wants to know who was responsible for doing this. Receiving on his phone the data of our protagonist. Seeing that he has no class, he asked if it was a joke, but his subordinate assured him the information is true. And the man seemed quite interested in this adventurer. This man is named Akira. He is a model and streamer, and apparently involved in the criminal underworld. He is also an S-class adventurer and founder of the Blood Serpent clan. After everything that happened, Kiyomi is doing push-ups in his room. He continues training his body to become stronger and stronger. The wounds he suffered inside that dungeon had already healed. The problem is he can't say what happened to those criminals, who turned out to be very strong opponents. That's why he can't stop training, to one day become completely invincible. Resting between exercises, he ended up remembering something. While in the dungeon, when he defeated the criminals, he received a key as a reward from the system, and he still hasn't used that item. As soon as he took it in his hands again, the system asked if he would like to use it. This time, the boy agreed. An intense blue glow immediately appeared in his room. Kiyomi was a bit worried about what was happening, until he was completely sucked into another dimension, leaving behind only the towel he was using to dry his sweat. Our boy fell to the ground. There was a lot of sand in the place. As soon as he composed himself, he realized it looked like a beach or a desert. Looking around, he confirmed that the worst hypothesis had become reality. He was in the middle of a desert, and it was also a dungeon, the Sunstone Labyrinth. Unprepared, without his equipment, without a source of hydration, his situation is definitely very bad. Appearing in the middle of a desert without any explanation was not what he planned for his day. Moreover, he fell into the sand awkwardly, and now his clothes are full of that sand, causing a very uncomfortable sensation. The first thing he did was start moving, looking for something that could be useful. But walking in that place is an agonizing experience. The heat is being his most deadly enemy, and so far no monster had appeared to him. Our boy begins to wonder why this is happening. In the middle of his walk, he stepped on something different. He decided to crouch down to see what it could be, finding a huge magical stone with a very intense blue glow. That discovery left our boy deeply impressed, because that abandoned place might actually be a mining dungeon. It's a very rare type to find, and he realized it too late, so he started digging the sand with his own hands. In this type of dungeon, it's possible to collect a wide variety of minerals, and considering his knowledge of past life, perhaps he can find something very rare in that place. After digging several times, on every occasion he found huge magical stones of various types. His hands were already injured from turning over the scorching sand, and the dehydration of his body was gradually worsening. That's when his eyes came across something truly interesting. He found what he was looking for, the lunar magic stone. Definitely, that small mineral made all his effort worthwhile, because now our boy is getting closer to curing his younger sister's illness. He never imagined that small key would be the path leading him to this great find. In the future, the illness his sister contracted will be named Magical Vortex, and there is only one way to cure this disease. It requires the creation of a remedy using the lunar magic stone. To completely cure the disease, 10 stones of similar size to the one he found are needed for the treatment. Kiyomi immediately filled with determination to continue digging. Now that he found the first stone, he will use all his strength to find as many as he can, returning to tirelessly turn over the desert sand. But as time goes by, dehydration and heat make everything much more difficult. His hands could no longer bear it, and his wounds were slowly worsening. So far, he hasn't found another specimen of that stone. Even so, with his tired body, his determination is far from over. That's when the system notified him of something. His time to explore that place had ended, and now the dungeon will be closed. Knowing that he still needs to find the other lunar stones, Kiyomi became very worried. The exit portal had materialized behind him. Trying to make the most of the few seconds he still has, our boy continued to dig in the sand, but the portal's energy was pulling his body with a mysterious force, until he was completely sucked in the direction of that dimensional opening, even without having achieved what he desired. Finally, he had been returned to his original dimension, but Kiyomi is very upset with what happened, and he began to plead for the system to send him back to that mining place. After hitting the wall many times, marking it with his wounds, he realized he would not return. However, the situation is not so bad. At least he managed to find one lunar magic stone. Being a little closer to the cure is better than not having moved forward at all. Completely exhausted from all that work, our boy fell asleep, thinking he would like to return to that dungeon. He concluded that the activation condition for that key is to undertake a dangerous mission. This made him get up immediately, decided to face every danger that appears in his life, as many times as necessary. After sitting on the bed, he felt a kind of sting in his pocket. Seeing what was there, he found a small amber stone. Initially, it is an unidentified magic stone. All our boy brought from that place were these two stones. Not knowing what it was, he thought of taking it to a specialist for analysis, but he needed to take a bath immediately. The contact of water with his hands burned by the heat is very painful. That was definitely not a pleasant bath. The next day, our boy returned to the hospital. Once again, he was knocking on his sister's room door, and the gossiping nurse noticed he was bringing something that day too. Natsu opened the door for him very enthusiastically. With many bandages on his fingers, Kiyomi said he brought a gift for her this time, handing a necklace to the girl with a special pendant made with the lunar magic stone. Natsu was grateful for the gift. Although she found it very beautiful, she said she might not need it. Kiyomi asked why she wouldn't need it. Getting straight to the point, Natsu said it was very tacky. After talking a little more, Kiyomi said he would go back to work. But before leaving the room, he wanted to know if his sister really wouldn't want it. Besides confirming the information, she wished him luck at work. Leaving with the necklace around his own neck, he left the room disheartened, and the nurse noticed once again that he kept the gifts he brought for the girl. After leaving the hospital, he went to the evaluation department. As soon as he saw the evaluator, our protagonist thought he looked very suspicious. The man said he might give that impression, but he is very good at what he does, which left our boy surprised, thinking his thoughts were read. The evaluator said it's very rare to see someone with a lunar magic stone, and Kiyomi asked if he knows anything about it. In any case, placing the other stone on the table, Kiyomi said he went there to evaluate this item, and the appraiser immediately set his work in motion, looking at our protagonist with a very interested smile. What is before them is a truly extraordinary product. This magic stone can add magical effects to weapons, that's what the appraiser said. Kiyomi realized that with this stone he could enchant his weapons, which was hard to find in his past life. At that moment, he was surprised by the appraiser, who suspected that our boy might think it was just junk. In any case, he should not underestimate the rarity of that item, because through this stone, he can enchant armaments. The appraiser asked if our protagonist knows what this truly means, saying that he won't need to work again. Kiyomi remains with the same expression of total disinterest, and the appraiser asked if he didn't like it, because this is an incredible possibility. Not needing to work is what everyone desires. The truth is that our protagonist hadn't understood what those words meant. The appraiser said that this particular stone absorbs the souls of monsters defeated by the enchanted weapon, making them his subordinates, and he can also take their abilities. They will only discover what it really does after enchanting a weapon with it. It was at that moment that our boy realized this could really be exciting. The appraiser asked if he would be able to do something like that, and Kiyomi assured he would put it into practice. It didn't take long for the appraiser to do as our protagonist decided. Now he needs to test what his sword will be capable of doing. Kiyomi thought for a few moments but knows exactly where he should go. In the adventurers building, he went to the training room, where a man working there is calling for the next user. As soon as our boy's identification is completed, he is granted access to the room. The inspector noticed that our protagonist is in rank E and is still someone without a class, presuming he would be very weak. Presuming something like that, he began to use his enchantments in the room, something that would be sufficient for that young man. A large magic circle appeared beneath them, dazzling their eyes. Small creatures also began to appear. Their danger level is class E. At first, these monsters seem harmless and are flying as if they were cotton candy, but their tiny bodies hide a huge and threatening mouth. The first creature is about to attack our protagonist, who did not feel threatened at all, cutting the first one with great ease. As soon as the creature was defeated, a mysterious energy began to emanate from the sword, heading towards the creature's body, until that energy completely enveloped Kiyomi, who also doesn't know what's happening. After everything was absorbed, even the inspector responsible for that room was surprised. The system notified that a point of magical defense was absorbed because of that. Kiyomi finally realized that the advantages of that magic stone might be greater than he was expecting, confirming that his magical defense had increased by 1 point. The inspector asked our boy what had just happened. Kiyomi told the curious one not to worry about anything, and there is something important to ask now. He wanted to know if this summoner is only capable of bringing low-level creatures. The comment, although simple, left that man quite challenged. saying he will summon creatures strong enough for our protagonist to scream for help. Before he could perform his summons, a man entered the room. He was accompanied by a girl and asked if he could join that training session. He also said he was very grateful to meet them both. The inspector was adamant that time was reserved for Kiyomi, asking the other adventurer to wait for his turn. It was then that he showed a dark card, granted by the bank to those who like to use revolving credit imprudently. Willing to pay for what he will request, the man with the thin mustache wanted a mass summoning. If Kiyomi joined them too, there would be no problem. And our boy began to get interested. Even the summoner liked that. A big request like that means he will profit a lot. Kiyomi said he doesn't mind, when in fact, he was thinking he is very grateful for this enormous possibility. In light of this, the inspector said there is nothing to do now. The two adventurers there are Class E and D, respectively. For the summoner, he knows exactly what to do now, as he needs to bring monsters that are reasonable for both. A large number of level D goblins appeared in that room. Their numerical advantage was so great that our protagonist was impressed. The other adventurer who arrived there praised the summoner's ability, also asking what class the boy there belonged to. With great astonishment, he learned that our protagonist had no class at all. He and his companion soon began to smile at this situation, apologizing for dragging our boy into something so dangerous. After that, he began to draw his swords, prepared to train. He and his companion were confident they would defeat all the creatures, charging at them impetuously. Before they reached the larger group, one of the monsters decided to attack as well, jumping on him, but the adventurer managed to block it using his swords. Taking the opportunity to surprise the creature with a kick, he aimed his attack at the monster's legs, which ended up losing balance from the impact and falling to the ground, becoming completely vulnerable to the sword attack that would follow. The adventurer and his companion are pleased that they are defeating the creatures. Now he is finally prepared to attack the next one. Unexpectedly, all the other monsters were wiped out. The only person alive in the middle of the room is our protagonist. Kiyomi said she already took care of that side. The adventurer and his companion were taken by great disbelief. Kiyomi thanked that stranger, as mass summoning is something too enjoyable. Bidding them farewell, she said she hopes to meet him soon. Before leaving the training room, the summoner has a question to ask. He wanted to know more about the boy's movements, because it's impossible for someone without a class, and who is in Class E, to perform such movements. Showing great interest in the identity of our protagonist, he asked who he is. Not willing to give details about his personal life, Kiyomi limited himself to saying he is someone without a class, leaving the summoner speechless. He just asked our protagonist to return one day, promising to summon even more powerful monsters for him. Kiyomi let a discreet smile escape his face, stating he would be grateful for that. After defeating 42 monsters in that room, he ended up gaining 3 points. He doesn't always manage to absorb them. Inside the locker room, he began to think about this while taking a shower. The more he fights, the stronger he is becoming. His weapon has become something frightening. Now outside, Kiyomi saw that there were very agitated people in that place. A man in a suit met him and asked if our boy was an adventurer. He immediately confirmed this information, leaving the man grateful. Because a dungeon overflow was underway, Kiyomi was immediately shocked by this news. All adventurers were being recruited for that region. In a dungeon overflow, the creatures managed to escape into the human dimension. The situation is really dangerous. Kiyomi needs to prepare. At that same moment, the system gave him an emergency task. Kiyomi realized that this is a great opportunity to become increasingly stronger. While people are desperate, Kiyomi thinks he can wait for exclusive rewards, thanks to those emergency system missions. And one of them finally appeared again. His objective is to put an end to the cause of the overflow. This objective left him thoughtful. He always thought this type of event was a natural disaster. While he was pondering if it really wasn't accidental, a man told him to hurry up and go where he was needed. Kiyomi said he would do so, but leaving the man increasingly anxious, he first took care to store his things in his backpack. In his city, Shibuya, chaos and destruction are spreading everywhere. People are running for their lives, while the monsters are running to kill people. In the crowd's desperation, a girl ends up tripping and falling. That made her an easy target for the creatures. One of the goblins saw a great opportunity in that, heading straight for the girl, prepared to end her life. In the face of despair, the girl closed her eyes and began to scream, missing the chance to see the creature's head being cut off. When she reopened her eyes, she realized her life had been saved by an adventurer. Still trying to understand what happened, she managed to at least thank our protagonist for what he had done, calling him a swordsman. This made Kiyomi correct the girl, stating that he has no class at all. That statement made her immediately shocked. Thinking he might be a complete useless person, she decided to flee from that place as quickly as possible. Our protagonist tries to hide it, but this kind of reaction from people regarding him leaves him hurt. Other adventurers are also there to help with containment, but they ended up encountering a dangerous creature. They are preparing to attack this monster together. From within the darkness, the creature emerges while eating a rice cake. A hobgoblin, a level D creature, and on this occasion, it had already ended the lives of many people. As soon as the adventurers realized its level of danger, they decided to flee, leaving one of their companions behind. Our protagonist was approaching this location, encountering the adventurers who were fleeing. His arrival ended up surprising the only adventurer who had remained, who asked who our boy was. Kiyomi immediately introduced himself to him, stating that he is also an adventurer and is at level E. However, he hadn't chosen any class. This simple statement brought great fear to the other adventurer, imagining that the presence of this boy would only bring more problems. He hadn't even noticed that a vehicle had been thrown in his direction. Looking back, he realized there was little he could do about it, but his will to live was strong, and with all his strength, he jumped away from the path of that object. All this while, the monster found it amusing. Our protagonist knows that this monster possesses great attack power. Their physique is robust and resilient, but the creature's ear separator is merely illustrative. Its thinking capacity is deficient. Overflowing with confidence, Kiyomi told the other adventurer that they need to resolve this quickly, and he agreed. Showing that courage is abundant in him, our protagonist told the man that he would attract the creature's attention. As soon as he finished his sentence, he started running at full speed. The adventurer left behind panicked, thinking he was left alone. But that creature seemed to be hypnotized by the movement, immediately heading in the direction of our protagonist. Kiyomi was already expecting something like this to happen, while the other adventurer was surprised by the outcome. As the two were moving away, he finally understood what our boy's plan was. Managing to approach the creature from behind to strike it with his sword, the monster agonized in pain, but that wasn't enough to end its life. And that's when the man realized he would have problems, because that monstrosity was about to strike him fatally. But having turned its back on our protagonist, the creature was hit once more, receiving much more damage. The system notified our boy that he managed to absorb an attack point. After defeating that creature, Kiyomi extended his hand to the other adventurer, asking if he was still able to fight. Quite enthusiastic, he said yes, stating he wouldn't fall behind the younger hunters. As he stood up, the man and our protagonist heard a peculiar noise. It was the arrival of higher-level adventurers. They were finally reaching that location. The more experienced adventurer said that their task, being below level E, is to help with the innocents, leaving the stronger ones to deal with the monsters. But our boy completely ignored his speech, as he had already dashed towards the danger. Concerned about what might happen to our protagonist, the more experienced hunter decided to follow. Kiyomi had found a kind of portal in the middle of the city. The place was completely surrounded, and a lot of energy emanated from that dimensional opening. Kiyomi could hear the heavy breathing of the hunter behind him. He had to make an effort to keep up with our boy, who asked why he decided to follow him. The man said he did it because that boy was trying to go to a dangerous place completely alone. Kiyomi was about to say that the man was a very nice person, but changed midway, stating that the man was actually an idiot, and he was upset for realizing that he had intentionally changed the words. Anyway, the adventurer said that this young man might be strong, but going alone is still imprudent. It's also dangerous for him, but the man will make sure to return home to have a drink later, saying that the young man should do the same and avoid traumatic and dangerous events. He asked what our protagonist was doing in that particular place. Kiyomi said he was going to eradicate the cause of the overflow. For that more experienced hunter, this type of event was also a natural cause, and heading towards the portal, Kiyomi stated he would find out if that was true or not. Our boy was about to touch the gate. The closer he got to that opening, the more intense the energy emanating from it became. The brightness of the rays was so intense that his vision was already dazzled, until the resulting flash was strong enough to resemble an explosion. Indeed, that's what happened. Our protagonist's body was repelled far away, leaving the other adventurer worried. It wasn't possible to enter that portal, but having tried to interact with it, something had emerged. The other adventurer began to wonder what that could be. A creature had appeared. It was level C, the Echo of Kurulkan. The monster began to wonder how it had been discovered, and our protagonist had seen that symbol somewhere before. It was present at the event that ended his former life. After being revealed, the monster began to change shape. Resembling very much the dragon that was defeated by our protagonist, the monster was willing to end the lives of those men. The most experienced adventurer was completely desolate. Believing that this would be his last adventure in life, the fierce creature was prepared to attack the two adventurers. As it charged its destructive attack, a characteristic glow appeared in its throat. Kiyomi immediately remembered his past experiences regarding that, but the monster's attack was too fast, and he now needed to defend himself. Having no way to block that attack, the only option left was to flee, and he took the other adventurer with him. The two managed to avoid the worst from happening. Upon falling to the ground, Kiyomi noticed that the man's sword had almost completely rusted. He tried to think about what could have caused that, and concluded that it was the effects of time. Being hit in any way by an attack from that creature would be extremely dangerous. Kiyomi was trying to think of a way to act against it. The man asked to be left behind, as he was just a burden to the boy. Kiyomi remembered that he had said earlier that he would return home. Those words left the old adventurer quite moved. While they were talking, the creature was about to launch another attack. Kiyomi saved the man once again, who told our boy they would drink together at the end of that day. But to everyone's surprise, Kiyomi said he couldn't do that because he was still underage. Now at a safe distance, our boy wielded his sword, being warned by the man not to be reckless. Kiyomi already has battle experience against enemies that use tactics in this way, and the creature asked if he really thinks he can win that duel, advancing against him immediately, this time, to deliver a physical attack. Kiyomi was not expecting this sudden change in strategy, so he had to dodge to the side before being hit. Even though he reacted quickly, he ended up cutting the creature's body. He also couldn't miss that opportunity, immediately wielding his sword to attack, managing to hit the monster's body, but his strike wasn't very effective. The hardness of that armor is so great that the blow ended up reverberating, and our protagonist's arm is trembling, and that hideous creature attacked him again with its cosmic breath. Kiyomi remembered that a dragon never burns its own throat with the attacks it uses. That's why there is that magical point at the base of its throat. That is the point where he should focus his attacks. Assuming an offensive stance, he used his body-strengthening technique, sending his sword dance attack against the creature. The monster realized it needed to act, but ended up being hit by our boy's attack. As its weak point was hit, the creature asked if it had really been defeated. Kiyomi knows that the monster's attacks demand a large amount of magical power, and now that it appears to be exhausted, it's the perfect opportunity for him to concentrate his attacks. Hitting the creature's body several times, he managed to cause some damage to its armor, finally exposing the most sensitive part of the monster's body. Now that he has access to it, Kiyomi managed to deliver a much more efficient blow than all the others. The pain spreads through the creature's body, and its cries of pain and agony echo through the air. Kiyomi realized that the creature's desperate reaction could be dangerous, being immediately hit by the monster's tail. The force of the impact was enough to throw him far away. Kiyomi tries to recover to return to that combat, as the enormous creature was already flying in his direction, ready to attack him physically. Our boy realized he needs to act immediately, or his life will end prematurely. To his surprise, the monster's attack was blocked by the other adventurer's shield. That man had put his own life at risk to save our boy. He tries to hold the creature as best as he can while asking if Kiyomi is okay. That was the greatest help he could offer in a battle like this. But for our protagonist, that was more than enough. The creature's body begins to collapse, without apparent cause. Not only was the monster perplexed, but the adventurer holding the shield was too. All of this was the work of our protagonist, who used poison to defeat the monster. He had learned that skill after defeating the hobgoblin they encountered earlier. The monster's body was paralyzed and could barely speak. Seeing that our protagonist had approached dangerously, the creature said a name, Karuna. Right after that, its life was ended by a slashing blow, and the system notified our boy that he managed to absorb a defense point. Moreover, he managed to reach level 7 by defeating the creature. Finally, the emergency mission had been completed, and as a reward for our boy, he received another mysterious key. Thinking about what had happened, Kiyomi felt that he would fight that creature again. All that remained in that place were the victorious adventurers, and the old man asked what the young man had received. But our protagonist continued cleaning his sword, and the old man realized he shouldn't ask so many questions to the one responsible for saving his life. The truth is that after the stress came great relief, and even though they don't know each other well, the two became friends because of the hardship. The smile on our boy's face doesn't deny this fact. Their meeting was soon interrupted by the arrival of men in suits. One of them wanted to know if they were the ones responsible for defeating that creature. Before our protagonist could respond, his unusual friend stated that most of the work was done by this young man. The man in the suit remembers our boy, the level E adventurer, who has no class. The overflow was ended, and the portal returned to being completely stabilized. Now this man would like to know if there was a reason for this. Kiyomi realized that, with a witness present, it would be difficult to stay quiet about this situation, and he said that the portal returned to normal after the dragon was defeated. The man in the suit found that information interesting, as until now, they thought this type of event was a natural disaster. Kiyomi said he could only answer what he knows. Then, holding his new friend by the shoulder, he left that place. And as they walked away, someone asked if it was okay to let them go. The blindfolded figure stated that he could extract information from them, making it clear he would do so unethically. But for the man in the suit, that wouldn't be necessary, and he wishes to approach them amicably, because he already knows that our protagonist has a hospitalized sister. The other adventurers are impressed with that man's astuteness. He already knows that a great battle is about to happen, and strength lies in numbers, believing also that Kiyomi could become his trump card. Shortly after that, someone called him. Communicating to the man on the other end of the line, he said he would do as agreed and would bring him along as well. The leader of the Blood Serpents is eagerly awaiting this. Inside his room, Kiyomi was carefully selecting some tools, storing them all inside a backpack. While he was dedicated to this task, he received a notification on his phone. He had received an email. Due to his recent contributions, our boy was promoted to the next class. Now he is a level D adventurer. All this is just at level 7. Kiyomi is quite enthusiastic about his progress. Soon after that, he received another message. It was his sister, saying he was becoming more famous. She also sent a link for him to check it out. Kiyomi was among the rising newcomers. Besides him, there was also the healer Niami, who was doing an excellent job. It was at this opportunity that Natsu asked our protagonist if he really has no class. And for the first time in his life, he gave a plausible explanation, saying he has a very important reason for not choosing any type of class. Now properly equipped, he is ready to be transferred to that mining dimension. He already has the key in the palm of his hands. However, the system said that the key was made for higher level adventurers. It might be that our boy's level is not sufficient. It's up to him to decide whether he wants to use it or not. For a brief moment, that message caused hesitation in our boy, but he remembered what happened in his past life and how he was a burden to others, unable to save his own sister. He has already had his share of misfortune in life, so he decided to use the key. The system said that was a good decision. Then he will be received in this dimension. This time, a portal appeared before him, and automatically, our boy's body began to be sucked inside. As he was being transmigrated, his body gradually disappeared. Unexpectedly, he ended up appearing in the hall of a castle, surrounded by guards. It doesn't look like the dimension he was expecting. Kiyomi is very surprised by what he sees. Before him is an old man, sitting on a throne. This is the world of the elves, an A-rank dungeon. Having seen the throne inside that hall, Kiyomi began to wonder if it really is a dungeon. And the one who seems to be the king said that our boy was guided by the will of the gods and would like to know his name. Kiyomi was not expecting to hear a sentence like that, and from the construction of this narrative, he thought it might be a mission. Even so, he presented himself to the king, saying he went to that place to find lunar magic stones, and immediately realized he would like to treat the magical vortex disease. The assertiveness of that man left our boy visibly surprised. The king said that if that's what the boy desires, he can order an alchemist to prepare everything. However, the lunar magic stone is also a very valuable resource in that world. Kiyomi immediately realized that it wouldn't come for free, asking if he should do something challenging. The king said the boy is smarter than he seems, and the will of the gods sent an interesting adventurer. Their dialogue was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger. What they were discussing could not be heard by our protagonist. But the king was truly surprised to discover that the adventurer had no class. Even the soldiers were hesitant and worried. He even thought there was some kind of mistake, as this was not expected. Kiyomi asked the king if there was a problem, and quite embarrassed, trying to hide his frustration, he said no. believing that the will of the gods is never wrong. But the task for our boy would be to duel, and his opponent would be the great sinner. His crime is having attacked his own people. The actions of that man caused great destruction. While the innocents were massacred, they asked why he did it. He said he has no specific reason, just uses his power because he possesses it. That degenerate was capable of summoning lightning with his hands, attacking the innocents with fireballs mercilessly. Remembering these things, the king said that attacking one's own people is very forbidden. It is a sacred law for the elves. That's why they summoned someone from outside to perform this task, saying that if our protagonist accepts it, they will give him the reward. Kiyomi immediately became enthusiastic about this proposal, affirming to the king that now there was an agreement between them. He extended his hand towards the majesty, but nothing happened. The messenger remains concerned about the situation of this unknown adventurer, who has no class, and the king rose from the throne, finally shaking the hand of our protagonist, affirming that the duel will be celebrated the next day, and until then, the boy can explore the city freely. Kiyomi was not expecting such a complex place, and he really went to the city to get to know those people better. A woman received him kindly, stating she would guide him through the place. Kiyomi is finding the whole experience quite unexpected. It doesn't seem like a conventional dungeon. The woman said it is indeed a dungeon, but the place in question is special. It's been 10 years since the last time someone from outside went to this place. Our protagonist is entertained by the exotic shape of the fruits. He asked what happened to this last visitor. Without sparing our boy from the harsh truth, the woman said the last visitor is pushing up daisies. This made our protagonist realize the place is potentially dangerous. While they were strolling, they heard some people clapping. It seems some event is going to happen in the square, and the woman suggested they take a look too. An elf is catching the attention of the people passing by, as he was going to show them an interesting magic show. In their language, he began to prepare the strengthening enchantment, and right after that, he created fireballs with his hands, throwing what he had created into the air. Upon closing his hands, the fireball exploded, creating an interesting pyrotechnic show. Kiyomi realized it was too strong to be just a fireball. The man said that technique temporarily strengthens someone's ability. The woman guiding our boy said it was invented recently. As our classless adventurer learns easily, he learned that ability just by seeing it. It will definitely be very useful in battle. He ended up having a good start. As soon as the sun set, he realized he had already done a lot that day. He revealed to his guide that he would like to know more if he had the opportunity. Giving a superb response, the woman said he could learn more if he survived the next day. Kiyomi did not like the suspicious tone of her voice. Even so, he bid her farewell without a problem. The next day, he is walking through the corridors leading to the arena. His steps are firm and confident, and he finally entered the place where the duel will happen. Several people are there to witness the spectacle. On the other side, his opponent is being brought in as well. My God, what an exaggeration by the illustrator. Look at the size of this guy. He must have been drinking protein shakes from a baby bottle, never afraid of needles. Kiyomi immediately noticed that this citizen was a bit different from what she had heard. The prisoner asked the guard if he would be released if he emerged victorious. He immediately began to use magic in that place, creating a large magic circle with the tips of his fingers. The entire place was covered in darkness, and Kiyomi understood that this technique altered time itself, and the degenerate prisoner said that this festival would nourish his development. The prisoner was approaching our protagonist with great confidence. This time he began to handle lightning in his hands, enveloping our protagonist with yet another of his spells. That water manipulation technique was preventing our boy from seeing completely, until he realized that the rain was only happening around him, but he couldn't allow this to limit him, so he held his sword firmly, only to see the criminal using another technique. This time, a purple-colored sphere appeared. The criminal struck his technique on the ground, and it began to spread throughout the place. Without our protagonist noticing, the ground beneath his feet started to become malleable, until a force began to pull him in. Kiyomi was being swallowed by the earth. He had no knowledge of that magic, which to him also came from an unknown technique. While being swallowed, he tried to hold onto the ground with his own hands. The most unexpected thing was that the elves seemed to be cheering for the criminal, who, looking at our protagonist, asked what was going wrong, as he was just beginning his moves, stating that our boy is a fool who was deceived by the bait and ended up in that situation. The king was already imagining that it would be too challenging for a human, but the result doesn't matter, because the one who will lose his life will not be one of his people. Kiyomi realized that at this rate he wouldn't be able to resist, and used his body strengthening technique to try to get out of the hole. But the strength he received was still insufficient. That's when he decided to use skill enhancement. This time, he managed to pull his body out of that mud hole. Even the criminal was impressed with what he saw, while our protagonist was relieved to have learned that technique, because now he can move much better than expected, launching his sword dance attacks against his enemy. The cuts went through the air until they collided with a barrier. Kiyomi was astonished by that result. What he had hit with his blows was just an ice construction. The criminal had moved out of his reach, claiming that human magic cannot go that far. This time he used ice to attack as well, but our boy has resistance to cold. That poses no danger to him. But the criminal remains confident, raising his hand high. He said that our protagonist should recognize the difference in power between them, sending a great shower of ice stakes in the boy's direction. The sharp projectiles are heading towards our protagonist. The impact caused by them is devastating, causing a great amount of destruction. Due to the dust raised by this attack, the audience is confused, not knowing what had happened. It was as if a great ice sarcophagus had been constructed in the middle of that place. What is truly bizarre is that these people are cheering for the criminal, who in theory, broke one of their most sacred laws. Celebrating, the criminal said he was finally free. Looking directly at the king, he asked if he would keep his word. Apparently, the Majesty is the only person in that place who wasn't cheering for the criminal, and surprising everyone present, the ice sarcophagus exploded. Neither the king nor the audience was expecting such an event. Something had happened inside that mountain of ice. Our protagonist's sword emerged from that place, its blade glowing. And thanks to this ability, he managed to escape that prison. The criminal seems impressed with our boy's capability. Kiyomi realized that despite that volume of muscles, the elf he's facing doesn't seem to be someone endowed with physical strength. In that body, it's just for Instagram photos. For the criminal, the duel is becoming more and more interesting, and he went back to preparing another of his spells, thinking he should further increase the power channeled through them. Kiyomi said his enemy is very skilled, while thinking in surprise that this demon can become even stronger. He can't keep up with this enemy's pace, and began to wonder if there's any way to counterattack this monster. He remembered an event from his past life, where he heard an adventurer say he encountered a very clumsy elf. The creature's hair caught fire with its own magic, and after that, he started running in panic. Kiyomi realized that this simple clue might be his only way out of that battle. He immediately diverted his gaze, contemplating those in the audience. The criminal didn't like this attitude, saying that our protagonist shouldn't get distracted. However, he wasn't expecting that our boy was already in the midst of his attack. Even using body strengthening, he wasn't able to hit his enemy. Kiyomi then used technique enhancement, but the elf also managed to dodge that, jumping into the air, avoiding being hit by the sword. Underestimating our protagonist, he said that he is very skilled. But if that's all the power he has, there's not much to be done. At that moment, our boy started to smile, because the creature's hair had been cut without him noticing. The elf finally realized what had just happened. For the first time in the entire battle, the audience was truly shocked, as if they had witnessed something cruel, and the criminal seemed to have fallen into deep despair. Kiyomi presumed that the hair is the tool that allows elves to manipulate magic. Right after cutting his enemy's hair, the sunlight returned to illuminate the arena, a sign that the elf's technique was suppressed. Kiyomi advanced towards the criminal, determined to end that battle. But that arrogant creature refuses to concede victory. Trying to use his techniques once more, nothing appeared in his hands. That's when he understood that his power had disappeared. The cut executed by our protagonist was quick and precise, leaving the criminal mortally wounded. His body already fell to the ground reeking, and the system informed our protagonist that he absorbed 10 magic points. In light of what happened, the Majesty announced to everyone that the man's crime was judged, and that the adventurer guided by the gods should be blessed. Rose petals began to fill the entire arena. The king went to the arena to congratulate our boy's achievements. Both celebrated it with a handshake. But there was something that worried the king. He asked how that human knew about their hair secret. Kiyomi decided to remain silent in the face of that question. Concerned about what might happen, the king offered an extra reward if our protagonist didn't reveal the secret. That small cube is an abyssal magic stone. Kiyomi knows that this magic stone comes from the last dungeon, the Abyss. Placing the necklace around our protagonist's neck, he said he no longer cares how he discovered that information. But if he shows the ore to an enchanter, he will know how to use it. The king only had one last thing to say, but it wasn't necessary. Kiyomi assured that he would keep his part of the promise. He also received the lunar magic stones as promised. Inside a small bag, there might be more than he needs now. Because of the service rendered, the king said he would reveal something else to him. That type of ore can be crafted. Our protagonist had no idea about that. He immediately asked for more information about it, but the portal to end his journey appeared. The king bid him farewell, saying that if it is the will of the gods, they would meet again. Kiyomi was sent back to his own room, with all his belongings and rewards. But what he truly wanted was the information from that old man. If he could craft that ore, he could put an end to this disease. In a meeting of supposedly important people, a man announces his arrival, apologizing for being late. Now the meeting will begin. The bespectacled man asked if he is here, and one of those men responded positively. Using a remote control, he turned on the screen, which revealed that the man they were talking about was training. The women in the room immediately became playful, scrutinizing all those patches of skin. The man they were talking about is our protagonist, who is exercising calmly, only now realizing that someone was calling him on the phone. They asked him to put on a shirt, and our boy apologized, as he didn't think the meeting would start so soon. Anyway, he wants to know what it's about. The bespectacled man said he would like to recommend him for a specific task, which piqued our boy's curiosity. Skilled adventurers are being recruited for something that will appear in the future. Since his name was suggested by Alice, they would like him to participate as well. Knowing that all this is involved with her, Kiyomi said he would like to know the details of this operation. The bespectacled man made it clear that what he is going to tell him is confidential, warning that our boy should ensure that no information would be leaked. Handling his tablet, he shared some information, showing our boy a graph. In response to our boy's question, he said that it is an analysis of the number of adventurer deaths. A statistic that is increasingly growing is the one caused by other adventurers. This left our protagonist deep in thought. The man with glasses said it might be hard to believe, but it's the truth, and he was going to talk about the other data. But he was interrupted by our protagonist, who already suspected he would talk about adventurers who do this intentionally. Everyone in the meeting room fell silent, and the man with glasses was surprised that our boy already understood what was happening, stating that this information hadn't become public yet. Kiyomi mentioned he only heard some rumors, but the truth is, he has extensive knowledge from his past life. He thought that this time he would be hired to hunt these people, and the man with glasses continued his explanation, stating that the organization hunting other players had fallen into the trap they set, and they intend to capture all of them in the scenario being prepared. Our boy understood the plan, and the man with glasses was pleased with his mental agility. He also stated that it would be a very dangerous task, but the rewards would be proportional to the risk, and his reputation would also be enhanced. The man with glasses knows our boy is spending a lot of money on medical expenses, saying that the offer he made to him isn't so bad. Kiyomi isn't surprised that the man knows about his sister's situation and decided to agree, asking for the plan to be shared with him, as he wants to start preparing for it. Satisfied with the boy's response, he began to share information. According to the information they had gathered so far, the leader of this organization is an S-class adventurer, Akira Babazono. While they are talking, a huge creature is attacking someone. Akira is responsible for facing it and is asking his team if everyone can see it. His actions are being broadcast to his audience, and he said that the monster is rank B, but for those who know the countermeasures, defeating it is easy. The creature prepared its trunk to attack him, completely destroying the ground where he was standing. But Akira managed to dodge it with great ease. In this small window of opportunity, he was going to show a weak point of the creature. Executing several cuts, he confirmed that the weak point was the bump on its head. The entire upper part of the monster's neck was sliced like sashimi, while Akira told his audience that this is an easy task. He is quite popular on social media. Upon leaving the dungeon, there was a large number of fans waiting for him. Pretending to be a good person, he thanked everyone for their attention, but as soon as he got into the car, his personality changed completely. He doesn't like being the idol of these people who are nothing more than commoners. He was soon informed that he had received a message from the blood serpents. Their trap is proceeding as planned. Akira is eager to know what kind of adventurer was hired by the bureaucrats to take them down. Analyzing those data, he came across someone peculiar, because he found the photo of our protagonist, the adventurer responsible for defeating those criminals inside a dungeon. Showing himself to be an incorrigible sadist, Akira is eager to meet our protagonist inside a dungeon. On the other side of the city, our boy bought some flowers. He went to visit his sister, and the gossiping nurse noticed that the gift of the day was flowers. The boy opened her room door, and Natsu was reading a book, and she seemed to like the gift of the day. Kiyomi said he was also bringing good news, stating that they might be able to cure her condition soon. Natsu was a bit worried about this statement because she heard from the doctors that there was no cure for her disease. It was then that our protagonist held her hands, saying that everything would be fine. She decided to be optimistic with those words, saying she would believe in her brother. While the two were talking, the gossiping nurse got emotional outside. Natsu said that the meaning of yellow roses is love that fades away, as if it's ending, and poor Kiyomi didn't imagine there was such a meaning. He left the room disheartened, while the nurse observed once again his inability to bring good gifts. Outside the hospital, our boy answered a call. In contact with Alice, he said he already knew about the job. The woman said she would be very happy if he accepted it. Since she won't be able to participate this time, she assured him there would still be many skilled people. Among them, Akira and Ichinos, who are exceptionally strong, but our protagonist doesn't believe it, as Akira is an assassin, a very weak class. Alice asked if after this job the two could go on a date, which made our protagonist uncomfortable. She said that our protagonist is more talented than she expected, so she would like to get to know him better. Kiyomi said she would consider this request for heaven's sake. When a guy chooses to be soft, it's complicated. At least she found it cute. Ending the call, she stated that she is eager for this to happen. At that moment, our boy realized he had tacitly confirmed a date. Back to the adventurers, the man with glasses thanked everyone for being there, for they were going to bury once and for all those who conspire against society. This task will not be easy, but he is confident in everyone's abilities, introducing to them who will be the leader of that mission, the adventurer Akira, who is already at level S in the assassin class. He assured that he would do his best to protect everyone and guide them in this task, saying that everyone would achieve success. While our protagonist claps as well, he observes this citizen with great attention. It was when someone surprised him from behind, asking if he really is Kiyomi Aki. Before confirming his identity, our boy asked who this person is. She said he must have heard something through Alice. The girl is named Ichinose Eru, the main disciple of Alice herself, and an A-level adventurer in the archer class. The truth is that Ichinose is intrigued by the identity of the one being so favored by her master, making it clear that she would not lose to him in any aspect. A masked man was accompanying her and said that was enough for now. His name is Shirota Taiki. He is a companion as well as a poison alchemist. Ichinose doesn't know how her master chose someone so weak and recommended that he not overdo it in that task. Until the system surprised our boy with an urgent task, he should steal Akira's phone. The first impression he had of that left him confused. For our boy, it doesn't make any sense. Even so, Akira was nearby, and already seemed interested in our protagonist. A very cute knight greeted everyone, saying he would explain the operation of that day. Inside the dungeon, a group of beginners will serve as bait. They will be undergoing training, and due to the confidentiality of the operation, they know nothing. The blood serpents and their team of criminals took the bait and are planning to ambush the beginners. The attack squad will step in when the criminals appear, annihilating all of them as quickly as possible. Now our protagonist is aware of how the operation will happen. While inside a plane, he heard that explanation. Inside the aircraft, he pays attention to his target. Akira is casually chatting with other adventurers. He is always surrounded by people since they boarded. Our protagonist hasn't had the chance to steal his phone. While he is keeping an eye on his target, someone is keeping an eye on our boy. Ichinos wants to know if he really has no class. Already tired of having to answer this and startled by her sudden appearance, he confirmed once again. She noticed that our boy doesn't stop observing Akira, asking if he is a fan too. Dodging the truth, Kiyomi said it could be seen that way, but the girl immediately realized he was lying and would like to know what motivated him to say something like that. She noticed that our protagonist always observes Akira's foot position, waiting for his prey to give an opening. Ichinos managed to notice all this because she is an archer, being very good at noticing glances. She wants to know what our protagonist is planning, as she would help him. That was the order she received from Alice. The aircraft finally landed, and the adventurers began to disembark from it. Akira is the first in line. Unexpectedly, someone ended up bumping into him. Ichinos did this and apologized. While she asks if he is okay, our protagonist already used the secret technique of the karaoke summer, showing that he is actually a great pickpocket. He apparently got what he wanted. He didn't expect his previous experience as an assassin to be useful in his current life. The system's mission was successfully completed. Soon he would receive the rewards. He acquired the cat's paw skill, which in context means he is very good at taking others' belongings. Ichinos remains very dedicated to the task of distracting Akira. Our protagonist noticed that the phone started vibrating. It's time for him to gather confidential information. And from the content he had seen, he realized what is really happening. In the middle of a forest, there is a portal where the operation will take place. A bus transporting the adventurers approached the place. They immediately begin to get off the transport. The one leading the line is the man with glasses. If the intelligence is correct, their enemies are just ahead. The adventurers are free to take them all down. For the roots of evil will be completely eradicated. The adventurers celebrate enthusiastically, unaware that among them is a person infected with the virus of betrayal. They are all heading towards the portal, and Ichinos asked our protagonist if the information is reliable. Some people are cleaning up the breakfast trash. Kiyomi told her companion that there is a reason they didn't have that meal. She wasn't expecting that mission to turn into another type of task. Kiyomi placed her hand on her shoulder, saying that everything is fine, because he would take care of the entire situation. The girl is still quite apprehensive about everything that might happen. She recommended that he stop trying to be nice when he doesn't have a class yet. It's not his duty to be the strongest. Ahead of them, Akira continues to motivate all the adventurers, leaving everyone energetic and quite enthusiastic. Our boy and Ichinos are the only ones who seem to know the truth, and they already observe Akira with great suspicion. With a keen eye, Ichinos noticed that this adventurer represents a great danger to all of them. Our protagonist asked her to calm down, affirming that she is a capable person. Right after that, he entered the portal ahead of her. Seeing his silhouette disappear into it, Ichinos began to understand a little better why Alice was enchanted by him. That portal leads to an E-rank dungeon, the ancient city, which resembles feudal Japan. The group of novice adventurers continues to advance. They are almost reaching the gate. Ahead of them, a large explosion occurred, and the path was blocked by the fall of some trees. At that moment, some became worried and looked back. They had all been cornered by people with very suspicious appearances. Frightened by everything that was happening, they asked who those people were. The answer came in the form of an attack. A woman used her staff to invoke magic, hitting the first of those adventurers hard. The rest of them saw that and were overcome with great fear. One of those criminals had an eye patch on his face and said it's time for everyone to have some fun. At that same moment, Akira's team joined the fun, saying they had arrived at the right time. Those who were cornering were now cornered. One of the adventurers said they are the extermination squad, and they are there to eradicate these criminals. Akira used part of his charisma to apologize to the novices for making them wait. Relieved by his presence in that place, they began to believe they would be safe. The other adventurers ended up feeling underestimated by that excess of attention. One of them started to feel something strange throughout his body, immediately followed by all his companions, who began to feel great discomfort. They all fell to the ground, feeling their bodies numb. The only one who remained standing was Akira. Not understanding what was happening, the novices became very frightened again, because the criminals regained the numerical advantage. Akira was also among them, and this time, he didn't try to maintain his good image. One of the adventurers, quite weakened, asked Akira what was happening. Ready to step on his head, Akira said that true evil is everything that emerges from weakness, stepping hard on that extra's head. Everyone in that place doesn't know his true nature, and he asked everyone to pay attention to that. The true founder of the Blood Serpents is him. That unexpected revelation left everyone perplexed. If this were a TV series, the episode would end here. Gathered with the worst kind of people that exist, the criminals said there's no point in resisting. At that same moment, Akira wielded his knife. He was about to end the life of the first, putting an end to his mediocre existence. But something happened, preventing the knife from reaching its target. The poor guy lying on the ground doesn't have the strength to understand what happened. Our protagonist intercepted that blow, preventing something worse from happening. Akira immediately recognized him and asked why our boy is still so energetic. Kiyomi told him she had lost her appetite, also showing that she has a cell phone. Seeing that, the villain was startled. Ichinos is also in the company of our protagonist, and she never thought things would end this way. However, Akira felt quite excited about what was happening. Realizing his cell phone was stolen, Akira understood that the day's plan had been leaked. He also said that our protagonist is a compulsive thief, and apparently he didn't share that information with other people. A clear sign that he still doesn't understand the gravity of his own situation. Kiyomi unfortunately has to agree with that. Since he wasn't able to unlock the phone, he only managed to access part of the message, as he couldn't risk other conspirators discovering what he knew. Ichino said that even if they didn't know everything, she had a hunch about it. Pointing to the poison alchemist, he believes he was responsible for compromising everyone's food. Very unconcerned, he revealed a small vial he was carrying, showing that this substance was responsible for causing all of that. Clapping like a great narcissist, Akira said he needs to commend their effort, revealing that those two can't do anything against all those enemies, especially when one of them is only at level D. Assuming a truly arrogant demeanor, they all start laughing at our protagonist. Ichinos became very worried and said she would buy time for our boy. While grabbing her arrows, she said he needs to report everything to the proper authorities. Kiyomi refused those orders, saying he had been hired to deal with those criminals. The girl was irritated by his stance, but our protagonist told her not to worry and that she should deliver the news. Ichinos became even more determined as she received an order from Alice to protect that boy. Our protagonist appreciates her sincerity. He does not wish for this girl to have her life ended prematurely. Appearing behind our boy, Akira asked if they were done talking. Since he didn't expect such agility, Kiyomi was very frightened by it, because it was definitely the movement of an assassin. That technique is the shadow step, something our protagonist knows very well. Akira said he has been interested in our protagonist for some time, also stating that he would end all their lives there. These words left the newcomers deeply frightened. Approaching Kiyomi in an intimidating manner, he asked if he thinks he is capable of stopping him. At that moment, he called for all his minions, saying they could do whatever they wanted with those people, ensuring they should entertain Akira with that violence as well. Right after giving this order, the villain disappeared into the shadows. Now our protagonist has to fight all those extras. Before he could grab his sword, Ichinos had already positioned herself with her arrows in hand, hitting several of those clowns. Her attacks are precise, and some of them already fall to the ground stinking. Even so, there were many enemies to be defeated. The one with only one eye on his face believed his luck that day was great. The girl is prepared to hit the only remaining eye, but our protagonist wouldn't let her fight alone. Calling her name, the girl understood what was going to happen. After ducking, she allowed our protagonist to cut down some enemies. The battle had barely begun, and several extras had already met their end. Kiyomi told the girl that not having a class is the most powerful choice someone can make. Very startled by what she had seen, she said it's not the class that strengthens, it's our boy who is a prodigy. While they were talking, someone threw a small vial between them. It took a while for them to understand what it was. Ichinos was enlightened by an epiphany and told our boy to move away. The vial immediately began to break, spreading a toxic smoke through the air. Ichinos was now separated from the one she was supposed to protect. The poison weirdo said he would be her opponent since both are at level A, and he wishes to resolve all this amicably. The girl is definitely not happy with what he had done, preparing her arrows to pierce the body of that traitor. She made it very clear she would end it as quickly as possible. But the poison weirdo didn't feel intimidated. To him, strength is not the only factor that defines a battle. Ichinos revealed she never liked the way those weirdos talk, and veering into an absurd speech, the weirdo said, "What matters is personality." Apparently, the AliExpress Kakashi still doesn't know he's an extra. Even so, he threw several vials of poison towards the girl, who immediately shot her arrows as well, breaking all of them still in the air, releasing the contents of those vials, saying she would never understand such a betrayal. One vial in particular didn't release any smoke, but upon hitting the ground, it came into contact with the contents of the other vials. That seemed to cause a chain reaction, releasing an intense, luminous energy. Before Ichinos could understand what was happening, she was completely engulfed by a large explosion. The weirdo began to celebrate what had happened, because he was sure the girl would shoot all his vials. While saying his poisons can also cause explosions, an arrow found rest on his clavicle. Ichinos said that arrows don't always come from the front, and that he is an idiot for blocking his own vision. Now that he had been wounded, the weirdo began to get very worried, because the bleeding from his wound is abundant. Revealing the physical constitution of a dying person, he fell defeated to the ground. Ichinos asked if the classless boy was still alive. That's when she realized that several enemies had already been defeated. Understanding that he is a reliable ally on the battlefield, Akira took that opportunity to attack our boy from behind. He felt something dangerous approaching, but was unable to react quickly. He still managed to prevent something worse from happening. However, he received a superficial wound to the chest. Akira said that nothing truly happens until he enters the scene as well. Our protagonist realized that this jerk is really fast. He won't be able to keep up with that speed. Ichinos also didn't see those movements. Concerned for her companion, she asked him to flee, as he wouldn't be able to fight him. Shortly after that, Akira returned to hiding in the shadows. Kiyomi is trying to hold back from showing any reaction, but let a smile slip. Ichinos found that reaction too strange to be true, and our boy is already prepared to attack with his sword, just as the assassin's shadows appear as well. Kiyomi threw her blade like a boomerang. Akira didn't understand what was happening. That sword was embedded in his shadow, and he knows exactly what that means. To his complete misfortune, our protagonist was an excellent assassin for several years and knows all his secrets. It didn't take long for Akira to kick our protagonist's sword. He wouldn't ignore that coincidence and asked how our boy knows the weaknesses of shadow steps. Kiyomi said she knows a little about assassins. But that revelation didn't bring satisfaction to Akira, who sees in our boy a person full of mysteries. About to cut his own finger, he asked if he knows what that means. Making a small wound on himself, he let his tomato juice fall towards his shadow. As soon as it made contact with it, a great reaction began to occur, causing those shadows to become even larger. The group of useless beginners remains frightened, while Ichinos watches the combat attentively. The shadows created by him are getting bigger and bigger. Kiyomi recognized that ability as the Dark Contract. And as I was already suspecting that familiar intoxication, his enemy is a hired assassin, a surprise attack was already approaching. But our protagonist managed to prevent the worst from happening. Holding the blade with his fingertips, he realized that Akira will become very famous in the next 20 years, and he knows all the tricks he is capable of using. Completely surprising his enemy, he managed to grab one of his hands. Akira doesn't understand how he was noticed in complete darkness. Our protagonist took that opportunity to disarm him. However, he still had the tactical advantage of being within the shadows. But our protagonist received a knife from that assassin as a gift, throwing it towards a small creature that was flying in the middle of the darkness. That monster is definitely out of combat. It's a familiar, a messenger of the shadows. and after being defeated, all that darkness disappeared, leaving behind only the weapon our protagonist used to exterminate the monster. Ichinos and the others saw the shadow disappear, but they can't say what contributed to it. Akira carefully picks up his knife again. He said that our protagonist is behaving as if he knows everything about assassins. Kiyomi is not interested in telling him the truth. Akira said that our boy is ignoring a fundamental truth. Right after saying that, he furiously advanced against him, having his attack blocked. As he has the advantage of agility, he continued to press our protagonist, landing a kick against his defense. The impact of that blow threw him far away. Akira believes that even if he can counterattack, he won't be able to defeat someone at level S. He also said that his effort is completely useless. At that same moment, Ichinos already had her bow fully prepared. She was willing to protect our protagonist with her own life and recommended that he flee from that place. Akira, with a sadistic look, is about to end the girl's life. But as a true narcissist, he ended up encountering something that made him very uncomfortable, because he realized that our protagonist was smiling. Kiyomi said that what will save him on that occasion is the assassin's low attack power. If he had another class, winning wouldn't be a possibility. Akira, after hearing those words, seemed to agree with that criticism, having his interest completely renewed in our boy. He asked if he really believes he has a chance of victory. Kiyomi had stood up and was removing Ichinos from his path. Looking directly at the narcissist, he responded positively. Now it's time to change the course of that fight. Opening his status, it showed that his proficiency is 81 points. Even Ichinos was surprised to see that. Our boy said that the conditions had been met, and now he would unlock a hidden profession. Those who heard his words couldn't imagine that this was possible. But indeed, on the system screen, something was happening, and the secret profession had been unlocked. Kiyomi was receiving the unknown power. Everything he had done so far conspired to make this moment a reality. He received his new profession, and along with it, a very stylish leather coat. Now he is also a very talented craftsman. Dazzled by the brilliance of the profession change, Akira asked what that was. Ichinos didn't know there was a profession whose prerequisite was to have no class at all, but our protagonist stated that things are different. He remained classless because proficiency increased faster, but the girl has no idea what that means. Akira, on the other hand, continues to scoff, claiming that changing professions won't change anything, because the skill difference between the two remains very large, then throwing several knives in the direction of our protagonist. The name of that secret technique is the serpent attack. All our protagonist Chad said in response was a simple word, craft, and right after that, he spoke the name of the item he desired, the troll's great sword, and the blade appeared to protect him from the attack, preventing the assassin's knives from hitting him. Akira can't understand how that weapon was summoned. Our protagonist corrected him, saying he crafted it, and that it's still too early to be impressed, showing him that several other swords had appeared as well. It was at that exact moment that Akira's underwear became quite heavy. Ichinos noticed that the amount of magical power in each of those weapons is simply absurd. Our protagonist invited Akira to attack him once more, as he would show him what the pinnacle of proficiency is. The assassin is wondering what profession this is that can create swords, and our protagonist assured him that the process is different from summoning or duplicating an item through magic. He is creating all of it using his own power. To Akira, all of this should be impossible. He can't believe he's being surpassed by someone at level D. Our protagonist asked him if there was something wrong, because if Akira wasn't going to attack, Kiyomi would have to make the first move, then immediately summoning a sword made to be wielded by someone 30 meters tall. Faced with that, there was nothing that could be done. Our protagonist sent the sword in the direction of his enemy, making it intimately acquainted with his insides. Akira's waist wasn't wide enough to withstand that blade, having his body divided into two asymmetrical pieces. However, the fight wasn't over yet. The assassin's body had turned to stone. That technique is known to our protagonist. He used a clone to avoid the worst. Ichinos is also very surprised by the power our protagonist demonstrates, and hidden in her shadow, Akira is trying to understand how he became so fast, because the situation had now become very dangerous for him. Kiyomi immediately placed his hands on the ground, summoning something from that place, bringing to himself a luminous sword. It's not a lightsaber, but its name is the Illuminated Shining Sword. Now that the artifact is in his hands, he can use its full potential, causing a great light to fill the entire place. Revealing the assassin's position, Ichinos saw he was hiding behind her, becoming terrified in the process. Our protagonist, now knowing his position, is prepared to continue the combat. Bringing to his hands an ice sword, with several of those he managed to completely surround his enemy's position. Akira tried to escape once more, but our protagonist wouldn't allow that to happen, sending all those swords in the direction of the criminal. As he tried to flee, the blades struck the ground violently, until the poor guy ended up tripping in the middle of his escape. Trying to understand what happened, he realized his feet had been frozen. The narcissist is now immersed in fear, asking once again if our protagonist had no class at all. Kiyomi knows that the enemy's defense and attack are low. His only advantage was high mobility. With his feet frozen, there's nothing he can do now, except die, of course. Looking firmly at him, Kiyomi said it was over for the beta. Producing more ice swords, he was about to finish everything. Akira felt the contents of his underwear running down his legs, and the icy swords are ready to fulfill their duty. Akira, in his last reflex, tried to protect himself from the swords using his arms, but he was finished off just the same, becoming a decoration object in that dungeon. The criminals who were still alive in that place didn't know how to react to that. After their leader was defeated, Kiyomi politely asked if anyone else wanted to board the Isekai Express. Immediately, weapons began to be abandoned. The surrender among those criminals was completely unanimous. No one wanted to face such a formidable enemy. On the other hand, the extras who were used as bait were celebrating. Now that the situation was under control, Ichinos managed to share the antidote for the poison with his companions. Gradually, they are recovering from the paralysis. Kiyomi was tasked with tying up all the criminals. In a short period, he became even more impressive. Our boy is feeling very exhausted. Using his new abilities consumed much of his magical power. At that moment, the girl approached him to praise what he had done. Revealing she was impressed with the power he showed to everyone, she wanted to know what it really was. Kiyomi said he had already explained, but he thought it's no surprise that no one knows the details of it. Even 20 years in the future, it will be complicated. Only good connections have access to this information. Ichinos wants to know how he will explain what happened there. Our boy will try the version that he got a secret profession and defeated the assassin. This will certainly cause a great stir in the media. Kiyomi realized this could be dangerous, and his friend agreed, as it could turn the world upside down. The only option for them is to try to talk to Alice, asking her to help keep secret what happened there. Even so, the girl remains curious, asking questions about this secret profession. She wanted to know if she could unlock it too. Our protagonist looks at her thoughtfully. The prerequisite for this profession is good proficiency, and this attribute grows at a different pace for each weapon. Swords are particularly difficult to master. Kiyomi was largely benefited by his privileged knowledge from his past life and the system's missions. That's why he became a sword craftsman. Even if he shared everything he knows with the girl, it would be very difficult to achieve the same results. Being brutally honest, he said she wouldn't be able to, but that doesn't mean he won't help her. He promised to teach her something about bows. In his first experience, our boy interacted a lot with legendary weapons. Ichinos became even more curious since he seemed to know a bit of everything. Kiyomi assured her he was just a regular adventurer, but that only made her more curious. One thing is certain between them. They need to keep secrets about what happened there. Interrupting their conversation, the useless extras appeared to thank them for the help. All of them want to know the name of the person responsible for saving them. They also want to know what technique he used and what his profession is. Ichinos realized that keeping everything a secret will be a huge challenge. But our protagonist was more optimistic. He revealed his name to them and also said he couldn't yet disclose everything he had done. At the adventurer's headquarters building, the news is being shared. It was reported through the news that Akira had been arrested. The general public is very surprised by this revelation, and so am I. I swore he had gone to the world of ideas. It was revealed that he organized training with beginners, intending to kill them all. His allies were also arrested for conspiring with this. The police also suspect he is the founder of the Blood Serpents, responsible for numerous crimes. Now he is being investigated for all these accusations. Because of what happened, everything is quite hectic. The receptionists are having to deal with a large volume of calls. Everyone wants to know the details. Their workload had increased significantly. It was at this moment that the receptionist saw a familiar person arriving. Our protagonist is heading towards her, while being watched by everyone. He went there to complete his work. He also said that the situation had worsened a bit, so we need to resolve how that will be decided. The receptionist said it's almost out of control. At that same moment, our boy managed to spot Alice, who was also there. Since they were going to discuss something that required secrecy, she called him to go somewhere else. Our protagonist went to that room, where people were already waiting for him. Among those men was Ichinose, who received our boy very enthusiastically. Kiyomi didn't imagine she had also been invited to that meeting. Alice noticed that the two had gotten quite close during this last task, but our boy made it clear that it's not what she's thinking. He still sees Ichinose as a complete stranger. Alice immediately tried to console her, and congratulated the girl for the work she had done in the dungeon, as she learned it was a more challenging task than they were expecting. Before the meeting began, all those men stood up, and representing all of them, the man with glasses apologized for the major logistical failure they had suffered. He didn't imagine that a criminal had infiltrated among them. Akira is a genius of deception, said Alice. They had no way to react to that. Even so, the man with glasses reinforced his apologies, telling our protagonist that there would be additional financial compensation, in addition to promoting him to the next class, making him a Class C adventurer. Ichinos was surprised by this news. Never in history had anyone been promoted so quickly. And seeing the calm expression of our boy, she said he should be happier. The man with glasses confirmed that indeed, there is no precedent for what happened. For this specific reason, he called 3 representatives to witness what had happened. The first of them is the director of the Adventurers Agency. He also called an S-class hunter, Miyata Guki. And lastly, someone our protagonist already knows, Alice herself. Quite convinced, she asked if our protagonist realizes how incredible she is. But that S-class adventurer is not satisfied, punching the table with great force. He said he didn't come there for idle chatter. His reaction left Ichinos very scared. As someone of a low-level defeated an S-level adventurer, he was very curious to know what this person is like. And so far, the only thing he knows is that he is at level 11. Moreover, he seems not to have selected any profession. All of this is very suspicious. Grabbing our protagonist by the clothes, he suggested that he might be a swindler just like Akira, and he is interested in knowing what kind of tricks he usually uses. Kiyomi politely asked him to let go of his clothes, but that man wants the boy to escape on his own, using the power of having no profession. The man with glasses told both that fights in that space are completely prohibited, but the agency director agreed with it, wishing to see the chaos with his own eyes as he bet 50 on the protagonist's victory. Ichino said that this is a joke and should be avoided at all costs before everything gets worse. The extra said there is nothing wrong with it, as our protagonist is in Class C, unless all of this is a lie too. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt some shadows on his back. He looked back to see what it was. Realizing he was already completely surrounded by swords, no one knows how that appeared. The poor guy understood that if he slipped up in that place, he would be the target of a very painful acupuncture session. Alice shouted at everyone, stating that it was enough, and the poor extra is hoping the protagonist heeds her words. Since he was unable to move as his fear was great, Alice recommended that Guki give up the conflict, so he opted for the rational decision, letting go of our protagonist. Now that everything was over, Alice asked if our boy was okay. Guki is one of the weakest among S-class adventurers, so he tries to maintain his position. Kiyomi doesn't care about the extra, but thanked for the concern. Now, Alice can't hide her enthusiasm, wanting to know more about the artisan profession. Kiyomi realized that Ichinos is not good at keeping secrets. She apologized, assuring that she only told the truth to Alice. In any case, the two assured that they would not spread it and asked him not to get upset. Right after that, our protagonist noticed the agency director. He wants to know if the boy will disclose the information that he has no profession. His answer is negative, and the director asked if money would change his opinion. Kiyomi knows he could become a distraction for other adventurers, like the one who was in that room earlier. The director said that it is really unfortunate, but since there was nothing more to be done there, he ended the meeting, thanking everyone for their efforts. Alice still has some questions to ask and would like to introduce our boy to someone, assuring that he will be very surprised by this, since she wanted to meet him again. Kiyomi, as soon as he saw that girl, remembered who she is. She is the healer he recruited at the beginning of the story. Right after that, the two went to a restaurant. A table for two was being prepared, and people were surprised by the presence of that couple. It seems the girl also built a great reputation. She asked if it was inconvenient to make that last-minute invitation, but our protagonist assured that it is no problem at all. Only Kiyomi can't hide that he is surprised by the fame she had built for herself. It's been a long time since the last time he saw Niami. Alice said that the girl became much stronger after joining the team he suggested. She is already at level 15, higher than his. Ichinos asked if our boy is aware of the healer's revolution. Niami still has troubled memories of when they met. Apparently, she somehow became the center of attention. Niami assured that all of this was only possible because she encountered Kiyomi along her path. That's why she managed to become so strong. Alice said that this woman has a request to make of him and would like to thank him. That's when she asked if they could go out for dinner together. Kiyomi was immediately surprised by that invitation, realizing it would be just the two of them. Alice suggested that he should go out and relax a bit, as that woman is very grateful for everything he did. For a brief moment, he pondered what to do, until he decided to accept her invitation. Alice said she would organize everything, and soon everything would be completely prepared. Now the two are inside the restaurant. Kiyomi said that the woman had changed a lot and is much more radiant now. Embarrassed by the compliment, she said that it was only possible thanks to him, as she was part of a team with a necromancer. If it weren't for that, she would still be stuck in her past, remembering all the humiliations she had to endure. In her current team, she learned soul healing, which ended up completely transforming the world around her. Our protagonist was already expecting something like this to happen. This ability can only be learned in the company of a necromancer, a crucial skill to support weak healers who are still at the initial levels. In the future, this will become a very common combination, and now Niami is the pioneer in the matter. She, who used to be weak, can contribute to her team and now gives hope to healers in the same situation. It made her profession gain popularity. The more healers there are, the fewer fatalities will occur. Kiyomi said she learned a very good skill, which made her very happy. It was pleasant for him to see this joy. As their order had arrived, he suggested they have dinner now. Tasting a bit of the pasta, the girl said it was very tasty. Our protagonist followed without saying a single word. Niami asked if that cuisine wasn't to his liking, but our protagonist stated that it was delicious. He just wished his sister could taste it too, as she has been hospitalized for a long time due to magical fever. Hearing that, Niami said there is still a lot of potential in healers. If she could become stronger, she could cure his sister of her illness. Taking our protagonist by the hands, she asked him to talk to her if he could help in any way. Since he was the one who changed her life, she would like to repay him somehow. Kiyomi was very grateful for her attitude, affirming that when the time comes, he will ask for her help. But that kindness was too much for her to bear. Niami was about to make a request to him, but was too embarrassed to say it. Presuming what her words would be, Kiyomi immediately agreed, and after that, they should ask for the bill. The two went to the hotel terrace, where there is a large pool. For heaven's sake, Alice didn't organize just a dinner. She arranged a complete honeymoon, and Niami is happy they can use the pool. But she wanted to say other things to our protagonist, and is trying to gather all the courage she has, until she finally asked if Kiyomi has a girlfriend. He didn't want to have that kind of figure with his sick sister, and without noticing any subtlety on her part, said he doesn't have one and doesn't plan to have one. Hearing that response, Niami was quite enthusiastic, but soon realized she had been too emphatic, becoming deeply embarrassed. Trying to change the subject immediately, she grabbed a ball that was there, throwing it in the protagonist's direction, saying they should have fun. Kiyomi tried to catch the ball but ended up losing balance on the float he was on, falling clumsily into the pool. Niami found that scene very funny and started to smile. As she was distracted, Kiyomi managed to grab her by one of her feet, pulling the girl underwater too. The two soon remembered they needed to breathe oxygen in gaseous form, returning to the surface. It was being very fun for them, and our protagonist was getting too close to the girl and asked if he should show her. With her mind so disturbed, only God knows what she imagined he wanted to show now. Kiyomi began to show his swimming style called the adventurous tuna, but from Niami's expression, it wasn't what she would have liked to see. Outside the pool, a guy said that name is terrible. But for the love-struck girl, anything our protagonist does is wonderful. That random man was sure that this couple is definitely very strange. In the middle of a forest, a figure is galloping vigorously. And the next day, Ichinos woke up, but is still very sleepy. In the Adventurers Guild lobby, she is gathered with our protagonist and the healer. Alice is happy with the formation of that new team, congratulating everyone, but they want to know why they were gathered so early. She said that the three of them, from then on, would have access to B-level dungeons. If they managed to defeat the Cursed Underground, she would invite everyone to join her clan. An invitation that left the two girls very impressed. Alice said they are very strict in the selection and would not go easy on them. Kiyomi assured that she would do her best to join, accompanied by the girls in response. Alicia liked the attitude of all of them. Our protagonist began to remember something that happened in the future of his past life. This clan became truly grand, but ended up disbanding for some reason. He learned about it from the news, but can't remember the true cause. Seeing that our boy was distracted, Ichino said it's a privilege for him to be invited, as he is at a lower level, since he is the only one at rank C among them. Finally, our protagonist realized the harsh reality. Alice said everyone should work together, creating great expectations for everyone to be accepted. Ichino's, even more enthusiastic, said she would do her best, but both our protagonist and I also thought she was already part of it. Alice bid them farewell, stating that the test will start the next day. They are all dismissed now. If she just wanted to give a message, it didn't need to be so early. Ichinos also bid them farewell, as she was going to revisit some strategies. But our protagonist didn't allow her to leave, saying that if she has free time, she should stay with them. The girl said our protagonist is not a beginner and can prepare on his own. But he was thinking of her, stating that the archer needed to prepare, assuring that everyone would achieve something very good. Niami, on the other hand, seems apprehensive about something. Inside a rank C dungeon, they begin to explore. Ichinos didn't want to do this on her day off, and also doesn't know why the healer came with them. She still believes all this will be done for our protagonist. He thinks it will be good for everyone. The only thing Niami can think of is that she likes being in the company of our protagonist and would like to be useful to him. Looking at the other woman, she decided she wouldn't lose this competition for attention. After walking a bit, Kiyomi asked them to be silent, showing that in the clearing ahead there was an unconscious creature, apparently a centaur. That's why they are searching. The creature seems to be resting, which is very convenient for them. An unexpected task from the system appeared. They need to heal that monster. Our protagonist wasn't expecting something like this, but realized it's another absurd mission from the system, so he began to think about it. Cautiously, he asked Niami to approach. As she took her steps, she ended up startling a grasshopper. The creature flew away frightened, and that noise ended up waking the centaur. Ichinos realized what was coming towards all of them, lowering her companions before something worse could happen. That creature had thrown a spear in their direction, and was prepared to attack once more. Its bow was already prepared and aimed at those invaders. The reaction speed of that creature is truly impressive. None of them expected something like this. Niami thought centaurs didn't usually attack humans. The information is confirmed by our protagonist, who said that isn't normal. As the creature prepares to attack once more, he tries to say they are not there to fight. These words made the creature hold back its attack, and right after that, it fell to the ground, as if it was quite weakened. Niami realized that the creature is going through some kind of suffering. Our protagonist was also able to perceive this. They all decided to approach the creature, but very cautiously. Kiyomi asked if the archer is hearing anything. She said no, asking if she should be worried about something. Right after that, she felt a sting in her leg, which began to burn intensely. Our protagonist was worried about what happened, and now they realized that the one responsible for weakening the centaur had revealed itself to them. A giant wasp with a huge stinger. That threatening monster is a rank C creature. Kiyomi immediately used her crafting ability, creating the demon sword Muramasa, and with it, she tried to hit that creature. But the monstrous insect managed to gain altitude, avoiding being hit by the strike. It was when our protagonist remembered that he didn't need to handle his weapons. Sending the sword in the direction of the creature, meanwhile, the monster began to release spores into the air. Seeing that his companions were coughing, he began to wonder if that decision was the right one, as the dust was toxic. That monster was too powerful an enemy. He would need to retreat now, but Ichinos was too far from all of them, with the venom from the sting spreading throughout her body. And around her, several creatures were gathering. Crafting a lightning sword, our protagonist struck all those creatures with lightning. Clearing a path to approach the girl, she thought the dungeon would be easy work, but ended up being careless. Right after saying that, she felt the pain in her body had disappeared. All of this was caused by the healer's technique, who managed to heal her completely. Even our protagonist was impressed. He thought the ability had a large area of effect, but Niami explained that she used it on each of them individually. Unfortunately, she is not able to conjure poison resistance, and in this situation, she needs to use her ability continuously. Kiyomi realized that it was minimizing the effects of the poison. They need to finish that fight before Niami's mana is completely exhausted. Kiyomi asked if Ichinos could take down that creature. The largest among them is the queen. After paralyzing their victims, the smaller monsters go on the attack. Our protagonist assured that he would take care of the smaller ones, and leave the main one to his companion. The lightning is being very effective against those creatures, but hitting all of them is not so easy. Ichinos tries to provoke her enemies by shooting arrows in their direction, hitting some on the wings of the queen wasp. That was more than enough to cause her wrath. Ichinos realized she didn't cause much damage, and the time they have to fight is scarce. The creature was already heading towards her in a deadly manner. That charge ended up hitting the girl squarely, and due to the impact, she was thrown far away. Seeing what had happened, Kiyomi was worried about her, but Ichinos assured that she was fine. That's when she realized her bow had been destroyed, and now she had no way to attack that creature. Ichinos realized she needed to act quickly, and her range of choices was limited. At that moment, someone grabbed her by the arm. It was the centaur they were planning to rescue. The creature lent her its own bow so Ichinos could protect herself. She wasn't expecting such help. And as the danger was approaching, Kiyomi crafted once again a large sword to serve as a wall. That prevented the queen wasp from hitting Ichinos while she was unarmed. Now she has the perfect opportunity to counterattack that monster. Preparing her arrow to be launched, she shot in the direction of the creature. Her precision was perfect. The projectile pierced the monster's skull. There is definitely no way for the queen wasp to recover from such extensive damage. As its body fell to the ground, Kiyomi approached to deliver the final blow, turning the body of that creature into a large organic puzzle. Despite being an intense battle, it had finally come to an end. Before the healer had completely exhausted her mana. Knowing she was very exhausted from what she had done, Ichinos apologized for what she would ask now. But Niami needed to help that creature, which was in great suffering. Our protagonist also asked if she could hold on a little longer, and the healer said yes. Extending her staff over the centaur, she began the healing process. In a few seconds, the creature had its vigor completely restored. The system informed our protagonist that the task was completed, and as a reward, he received another key. Ichinos was not only grateful for the help, but relieved that the centaur had been healed. Returning the bow to the centaur, her gesture was refused. It was as if the creature was giving her a gift. After doing that, the centaur followed its path through the forest, leaving behind a very surprised Ichinos. Our protagonist saw what had happened, stating that that bow is the best equipment for archers. He asked if she remembered what he had said about bows earlier. Centaurs craft their bows using their own magic. This makes these tools better than anything made by human hands. Moreover, it is not an easy artifact to obtain. Our boy's initial goal was to steal this bow. After saying that our protagonist is a wicked person, Ichinos began to examine that incredible equipment more closely. Niami also found it unbelievable that she received that from a centaur. Her enthusiasm made the girl happy. Ichinos wasn't expecting the healer to go to that dungeon too, but she is relieved that she participated in it, also recognizing her incredible ability to use magic continuously. Niami, who was still not used to receiving compliments, began to cry with happiness. Ichinos was very worried about this, and while our protagonist was relieved that everything had worked out, he then looked at the arrow the centaur had shot in their direction. He hadn't noticed it before, but the creature had hit one of those wasps. Now everything starts to make sense to him. The centaur never intended to attack them from the beginning. In fact, it was done to protect them. Now she can walk freely through the forest without being bothered by the nasty insects. The next day, they are all gathered in the adventurers' building. Alice is very enthusiastic because now they would start the test to be accepted into her clan. Our protagonist and his team are very motivated. Alice wished them all good luck, hoping to meet them with positive news in the future. Kiyomi asked her friends to try their best. Ichinos believes that with her new bow, anything is possible. They are inside the level B dungeon, the cursed underground. The place looks like an abandoned cemetery. Ichinos, who was once optimistic, is completely terrified by the decoration of that place. The sound of bats flying made her feel great fear. When questioned about it, saying that everything is fine, our boy noticed that her confidence was gone. That place was filled with undead creatures. The ghost-type ones are immune to physical attacks, and our protagonist is not good at fighting them. Ichinos became even more frightened. Then, to comfort herself with the idea that they are just monsters and can be defeated, Niami realized that her friend's fear is based on the movies she has been watching. In any case, she offered her hand to reassure Ichinose, as the healer worked for a long time alongside a necromancer and is used to it. Walking through the place, she began to try to leave. Our protagonist stopped his advance, noticing that some zombies were trying to appear. Those monsters are rank C and are potentially dangerous. Ichinos tried to control her fear, pointing an arrow at the creatures. But before preparing her attack, she came across something under a tree. That figure was much more threatening than she was expecting, and left the girl completely terrified. Kiyomi tried to tell her to save that kind of reaction for later, as the monsters there were all ready to attack. He crafted another sword for this, Excalibur, advancing against the creatures in a brutal and overwhelming manner. All those cut by this blade burned with holy flames. There is something that was immediately recognized by the healer, who is now even more impressed with our boy. The figure under the tree disappeared again, which only made Ichinos even more frightened. Kiyomi said that the strength of a craftsman lies in the compatibility of the weapon he wanted, and that powerful attributes consume a lot of magic, and there was still a problem to be solved. The spirit of one of those bodies was being called again, heading towards a creature that was also in that cemetery, and as it approached that other monster, it was as if that soul had been consumed. These rank C creatures are soul eaters. Our protagonist knows the disadvantage he has against creatures that have no physical form. Ichinos was desperate because she doesn't know how to deal with it. While they are discussing, the healer knows exactly what to do, setting up a great spell in that place. The brightness of her technique immediately blinded all the creatures. That light was capable of annihilating the monsters as if it were erasing shadows. The power was concentrating at the tip of her staff. That technique she used is soul healing. All that was left was the shroud those monsters were wearing. Ichinos never imagined a healer could do that. Niami said that soul healing is a very powerful enchantment, capable of healing even the souls of the dead, which is lethal to them. She only managed to learn this technique thanks to the intervention of our protagonist. Now Ichinos can understand why she is a revolutionary healer. She is truly amazing. Even our protagonist is surprised by this. Niami became stronger than he expected. Maybe they can defeat that creature. But his thoughts were soon interrupted by ominous sounds from the cemetery. There are more creatures in that place than they were expecting. Kiyomi decided that the best option is to start moving to distract those monsters. After walking for a few more moments, they ended up facing a dead-end path. Ichinos panicked once again, and while running her hands along the wall, Kiyomi knew there was a passage there. As things changed, he apologized to his team, as it would be necessary to fight now. and the monsters are getting closer and closer. Niami heard the sound of someone singing. The one responsible for this was a creature behind the others. Ichinos was terrified because she had seen that creature under the tree. Kiyomi knows that creature is the king of the dead and did not expect to encounter it in this place. There is little information about it. What little is known is that even S-level adventurers can be defeated by it. She ordered everyone to cover their ears because she doesn't know what might happen. Niami, on the other hand, didn't do that since nothing had happened so far. She began to distinguish the words of that song, which spoke about the sealed soul, while the monsters fell to the ground. It was a call for everyone to return to it. The king of the dead is the only creature left in that place, and it began to use its magic in the direction of our protagonist. He and his companions were enveloped by a blue glow. Right after that, they were all pushed by a mysterious force, violently hitting the wall positioned behind them. Ichinos realized that her body was passing through it, which was also noticed by the others, causing great disturbance for her. Kiyomi did not imagine that monster would be so dangerous, and is waiting to see what the king of the dead will do with them. They were all passing through that wall without knowing what was causing it. Now, inside, they fell to the ground, still surrounded by this mysterious energy. Realizing they were in a completely different room, it seemed to be some kind of secret environment. Right behind them, the king of the dead also came. At first, the creature did not seem hostile or dangerous. Even so, they were all prepared to continue fighting. But faced with the creature's hesitation, they decided to stand still too, wondering what it might be planning, until the king of the dead extended its hand to them, asking Niami to share her power. Faced with that proposal, the girl was thoughtful, while her friend was deeply terrified. The king of the dead was talking about the release of souls, showing them a lantern, which was being held by another creature. Our protagonist realized that this is the soul capturer and also the boss creature of that dungeon. Ichinos found that creature quite frightening. Niami, on the other hand, does not know what soul release is. Our protagonist said that monster captures the souls of the dead and uses them as magical power. The imprisoned souls become the raw material of its magic, granting it immense power. Somehow, the king of the dead wishes to cut off this power, and this can be achieved through soul healing, since it transforms the souls of the dead into a powerful cure. Niami did not imagine her technique could cause something like this. Understanding the king of the dead's purpose, our protagonist asked if his hypothesis was correct, and it seems that is exactly what the creature desires. Ichinos realized that our boy knows a lot about that place, and doubts it's his first time in something like this. The king of the dead passed by our protagonist's team, as if showing a path, placed its hand on the nearest wall. Gradually, a secret passage was revealed. Showing the path our protagonist should follow, he immediately thought they were heading towards the dungeon boss. Now he and his team are treading that path. After passing through the dark corridor, they all arrived in a new compartment. The air in that place was filled with souls, and in the center of the hall, the soul capturer sat on a throne. As soon as it saw those humans, its eyes filled with a malevolent glow. The creature was ready for combat and advancing against them. This monster is a rank A creature. The pressure of its power is truly overwhelming. Our protagonist said that if they follow the plan, everything will work out. Now it's time to start acting. Niami immediately began preparing her enchantments. That made the creature react aggressively against all of them, sending its power aggressively. The souls that were imprisoned are heading towards our protagonist's team. Ichinos remains very frightened by the nature of that place, while our protagonist realized that the range of that attack is exceptional. Perhaps they won't be able to protect themselves from it, but they were surprised by the existence of a powerful shield. This protection was caused by the king of the dead, who used the soul curtain to protect them. Our protagonist's team was surprised by what they were witnessing, because that monster was helping all of them. It seems there is a purpose in these actions, but the soul capturer does not plan to cooperate with the humans, directing its aggression towards the king of souls as well, because it was being strengthened by the souls it had captured on its journey. Kiyomi realized that lantern was the source of all its magical power. As long as the creature possessed the item, there would be no end to its attacks, and the king of the dead could not withstand that pressure for long. Even so, the creature was doing its best to help our protagonist's team. Finally, Niami's enchantment had been completed, and she was ready to attack, using soul healing on all the souls that were flying in that place. That immediately caused a reaction in the lantern the creature was holding. At the same time, its allies were being strengthened. Ichinos was filled with great confidence, pointing her bow at the boss creature, feeling that nothing could make her lose. Shooting a fire-coated arrow at the monster, the creature tried to use its lantern to protect itself from that attack, using the same technique as the king of the dead, the curtain of souls. But its defensive capability had been reduced, and Ichinos' arrow proved stronger than that magical barrier, brutally hitting the creature's head, which began to writhe in pain. Even so, it was not enough to defeat it, and Ichinos was impressed with the power that bow granted her attacks. Preparing to attack once more, she believed they could overcome that barrier. That's when the dungeon boss revealed its great greed, claiming that all the souls belonged to it, attacking our protagonist's team again, this time using its chains. In this way, it managed to imprison one of the archer's arms. Surprised by this attack, she ended up being dragged by the creature. As soon as it brought her close, it grabbed the girl by the hair, and wielding its lantern with the other hand, it tried to steal her soul, initiating a painful process. Niami immediately became worried for her companion. At that moment, our protagonist managed to act, as the creature had ignored his presence, paying for its mistake by losing one of its arms. The poor creature writhed in pain, now having to learn to write with another hand. His attack was imbued with additional power, thanks to the excess magic. Then he would manifest the full potential of his new abilities. The creature realized that the cut was not ordinary, as its arm was burning with a different energy, and it was spreading throughout its body. Kiyomi noticed that the sacred power of his sword was spreading more and more, but this time, it was much more powerful. Taking advantage of the creature's moment of weakness, he used that opportunity to continue pressing with his attacks. The monster realized what was happening, and before being hit again, it used its imprisoned souls as raw material. To our protagonist's surprise, the creature managed to completely regenerate the arm it had lost, fully restoring the damage it had suffered so far. That made our boy abort the attack midway, understanding that the boss creature could surprise him. His moment of hesitation was met with a surprise attack. Due to the creature's proximity and reaction speed, he couldn't dodge it, and the soul captor continued to press brutally, launching a large volume of attacks against our protagonist. Amidst those explosions, his companions tried to seek refuge. After finishing its attack, it brought the imprisoned souls to stay around it. Believing it had defeated one of the humans, the soul captor began to smile maliciously, but it was surprised by the voice of our boy, who had discovered that those attacks were not capable of harming him. As soon as it saw our protagonist completely healthy, the soul captor was confused. It tried to attack him once more, but Naomi managed to intercept its actions, using soul healing to block it. The healer with this ability is the natural enemy of a monster like that, and Kiyomi was now positioned to take advantage of this beautiful opportunity, delivering a precise cut to the creature's neck, promoting the divorce between its head and body. Given the extent of those damages, the creature's body could not continue its attacks. Knowing he had achieved victory through effort, our boy sheathed his sword. His group immediately began to celebrate what had happened. The soul captor's lantern fell to the ground, and its body began to disappear slowly, until the only thing left in that place was the artifact left behind. Our protagonist approached it to destroy it with his sword. That symbolic gesture freed all the souls that had been imprisoned and enslaved. His friends watched the souls change color, while the King of Souls seemed relieved. The souls that had been imprisoned were all returning to him. It seemed that it had brought peace to this creature, not only to him, but to all those souls that were being tormented by the captor. From inside the lantern, a small silhouette began to form, as if it were a person. The King of Souls, as soon as he saw that happen, approached that existence with great joy, embracing someone he hadn't seen in a long time. After sheathing his sword, Kiyomi was impressed by what he was witnessing. It seemed that a mother had finally been reunited with her son, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. Now that this had happened, the King of Souls thanked those humans for the help they had provided, disappearing slowly before their eyes. Leaving behind a blue glow, Kiyomi wished he had understood better what had just happened there. Naomi began to smile discreetly, as she found it all very moving. That was the first time in her entire life that a demon thanked her for being helped. And indeed, it was the first time for all of them regarding this. Now they can finally return home. Already at the adventurer's office, they were greeted by Alice, who congratulated them all for completing that task. And now they are official members of her clan, the Carnelian Rage. As soon as they heard this, the girls began to celebrate, as it was indeed a great achievement. Since our protagonist was not with them yet, they decided to wait for him to celebrate what had happened, but there were many people nearby. They were all reporters, wanting to know the news about those adventurers who had joined this grand clan. They wanted to know details of what happened in the cursed underground, as even S-class adventurers faced difficulties there. This effect and the presence of the revolutionary healer are the topics of the moment. All of them wanted to know how this topic had been spread, and now the reporters are bombarding those girls with questions. While this was happening, our protagonist approached them. Going to Alice, he asked what all the commotion was about. She said the reporters came to gather information about his group's most recent actions. Ishinos immediately pointed to our boy, so he could serve as bait for the reporters, claiming he was responsible for defeating the dungeon. Some of those reporters knew that our protagonist had no class, and that he was also at level C. So they continued asking questions to Ishinos, completely ignoring our protagonist, believing she was very magnanimous for taking someone weaker to that dungeon, imagining she must be a great leader. It didn't take long for our protagonist's phone to start ringing. He immediately answered the call. After hearing a few words, he was quite surprised. Alice, who was beside him, noticed that reaction and asked if something bad had happened. Our boy couldn't respond. He just dropped the phone on the floor and ran towards the exit. Alice looked at the phone, thinking she might extract information from that device. Already outside, our protagonist continued running desperately. He was heading towards his sister. Something had happened to her. This made him go directly to the hospital. The girl's condition had worsened. Her blood pressure dropped significantly, and her heart was weak. The doctors were trying their best to reverse her situation. Kiyomi finally managed to reach the hospital and was heading to his sister's room. One of the doctors informed him that he needed to wait outside, but our boy insisted on entering. Even though he insisted, the door was closed before his eyes. All that remains for our boy is to wait outside, hoping everything turns out well. He was very disappointed with what happened. He didn't imagine his sister's symptoms would worsen so quickly. Remembering the words of the Elf King, he began to wonder if the alchemist hadn't arrived yet. While he was completely desolate, the man approached our boy, and after calling him by name, it seemed he had something to say. Handing a phone to our boy, Kiyomi immediately realized it was his personal device. As soon as he took the phone in his hands, he saw that a call needed to be answered. The man recommended to our protagonist that he answer it. Still very confused with everything that happened, he decided to obey. On the other end of the line, the voice revealed that they knew about his sister's condition, because in his haste to leave, Kiyomi left the phone behind. That's when he realized he was speaking with Alice. He also heard a lot of noise on the other side. Quite confused with everything that was happening, he asked what she was trying to say, and the same man who had handed him the phone pointed to a direction in the corridor where there was a window. Our boy went there. Seeing that a helicopter was approaching the hospital, Alice decided to help her friend in any way necessary, because he is also a member of her clan now. In one of Alice's hands was a golden artifact, and it seemed that the symbol made by crossed swords represented her clan. Doctors who were brought by her to that hospital entered Natsu's room. The doctors who were trying to reverse the girl's condition asked who they were, but those men said they would take over the situation from then on. This immediately caused some unease among the traditional doctors, until they realized they were in the presence of the Dream Team, the magical doctors, who gained great notoriety after mana appeared in this world, capable of curing incurable diseases. The traditional doctors realized that those men were more suited for this task, so they decided to trust what they could offer, leaving Natsu under their responsibility. They quickly realized that the mana vortex had reached stage 3, and they needed to start the drainage procedure. Outside in the corridor, the traditional doctors began to wonder why such important people had appeared. Alice is trying to console our protagonist, assuring him that those professionals are very competent. Even so, it's very difficult for our boy to shake off the feeling of helplessness. Sitting in that corridor is an extremely distressing experience for him. Finally, the magical doctors came out of the patient's room. Kiyomi asked the first of them about his sister's condition, and the doctor said they managed to stabilize the girl, and that she would get better soon. Receiving that good news was so unexpected that it left our boy speechless, yet he managed to thank the doctor, who said they were only brought to that hospital because of Alice, and if the boy wanted to thank someone, he should thank her. But she assured our protagonist that he shouldn't worry, as it's in her nature to help her companions. To our boy's surprise, it was confirmed that this is exactly what she does. She also had things to say to him, stating that she would never leave him alone. After being helped in the situation that is the driving force of all his growth, taking care of his sister's health, our boy's emotional defenses were shattered, feeling indebted to Alice. The woman enjoyed seeing that embarrassed expression on our protagonist's face, who, after managing to compose himself, revealed he was grateful for the help he had received, leaving Alice very pleased. While she finished talking to the doctors, our boy entered a process of introspection. Approaching Alice again, he asked if she could lend a bit more of her power, because he knows he still needs to do something to save his sister definitively. That was the first time our protagonist asked her for something that wasn't for someone else, and she felt honored by it, asking our boy to tell her what it was. He realized that the affection in her actions translated the sincerity of what she felt. Perhaps he should reveal his secrets to her soon, because she is a woman he can trust, so he said he knows how to cure that disease. But for that to become a reality, they need the skills of a talented alchemist. Kiyomi asked if Alice knew anyone with those characteristics. After thinking for a moment, she revealed she had never heard of that profession until now. Kiyomi was already expecting something like this, as that profession hasn't been discovered yet. Remembering the keys he received from the system, he realized he needs to return to the world of the elves. That profession is the key to the cure, which is achieved through lunar magic stones. Alice had heard of this ministry before, she just didn't imagine it would have this kind of function too. Kiyomi asked if she didn't doubt his words, and she said she understood he was a man full of secrets, and it's not necessary for him to reveal the whole truth to her, because something Alice wouldn't do is abandon her friends. And looking at our boy, she stated she once saw someone change the structure of mana stones. As soon as he heard that, he was immediately surprised. She couldn't say if it was this kind of ability our boy was looking for, but one thing she was sure of, it was worth checking out. Imagining this might be the only solution, Kiyomi agreed with her. Alice told our boy to be prepared, as the person they were going to meet was a bit egocentric. This important person is inside a luxurious car, and she is heading straight to the University Hospital of Tokyo. His name is Kazaki Taira, a renowned doctor associated with the University Hospital. As soon as he arrived at that place, several reporters began to approach him. Because they were interested in knowing about his latest discovery, a new drug developed by him, everyone wanted to know more about that talented young man. Being in front of those spotlights is something too pleasant for his ego. His answer to all the questions is the same. All of this is caused by his excessive talent. Dismissing the reporters, he announced he had an unmissable appointment, and they had to be moved away by the local security. That man is full of great confidence, believing that his talent is a gift from God himself. After entering his office, the secretary informed him that the reward for the new medication was on his desk. As a result of his achievements, he frequently receives a large sum of money. There was a large envelope on his desk, and he picked it up with his hands, just to make sure it was more money. While smelling those freshly printed notes, he felt the most sublime pleasure. For him, that is true happiness. To him, that was his true talent, just like his skill in alchemy. While he was having a moment of contemplation with the money he had received, his phone started ringing. He immediately answered the call, as it was his father, who wanted to know if he had time available that day because someone wanted to meet him. Kazaki found it very unexpected and asked about the identity of this person. Not even his father knew who it was. All he could affirm was that it was someone with great authority. The doctor felt very annoyed with this information, yet his father said it was urgent and that he only needed to meet one person. Decided to cooperate with his father, the old man said he would send more information to him, ending the call. Kazaki was increasingly interested in the identity of this person and could get favors from his father, who was a great politician. It didn't take long for him to receive the information, discovering that it was a level C adventurer. The egocentric doctor expected someone more important. Later that same day, he was informed by his secretary that the guest had arrived. Kazaki asked him to come in right away. Our protagonist introduces himself to him, humbly thanking him for the time allocated for that meeting. Kazaki also introduces himself and asks what urgent matter that person would like to discuss. And as he is a very busy person, he wanted our protagonist to get straight to the point. Kiyomi said he needed an alchemist, which made the doctor thoughtful. Our protagonist said someone mentioned he might have this kind of skill. but it's okay if he doesn't know what it's about. If that's the case, their conversation can already be concluded. Kazaki seems interested in this subject. Standing up from his chair, he said he didn't know what connections our protagonist has, but definitely, this person knows too much. And his intuition was right. Our protagonist was surprised that he might really be an alchemist. Kazaki said that this is the first profession in the world. He is also an adventurer, and his class is that of an alchemist. Kiyomi is now more enthusiastic, as he is getting closer to achieving his goals. The doctor asked what our boy wants. Kiyomi said he intends to create a certain medication. As that man is driven by greed, he asked how much they were talking about. His reaction was completely unexpected for our boy. The doctor said his talent is not cheap, and he has a lot of influence in the pharmacological field, and wanted to know if that boy understands what is being said. Disregarding that person's greed, Kiyomi said he didn't understand, which ended up making Kazaki a little irritated. Our protagonist thought he was a doctor. And if money is something pertinent to that conversation, our protagonist can't pay much, but he can give him very useful information, which would be valuable to him. Kazaki began to belittle what our protagonist could offer him, and said that if he can't use money, that conversation can't proceed. He did that to put a little pressure on the negotiation, then telling our protagonist to leave his office. It seems he also used a skill to open the door. That made our boy look back. In that window of opportunity, the doctor quickly approached him. Trying to strike him with a kick, he ended up having his attack blocked. Kazaki wasn't expecting a reaction like that. Besides having his attack contained, he was pushed back, falling onto his desk completely awkwardly. He wasn't expecting all that strength from someone who was only in Class C. Our protagonist definitely has a lot to teach this poor soul. Kazaki had completely ruined the negotiation, and even after what he had done, Kiyomi asked him a favor, to lend him the skills he has. But that miser refuses to help someone poor who can't pay him and has nothing to resolve with our protagonist. After hearing those words, he realized he is just a greedy man attached to money. Kazaki said that money is the most important thing in the world, and that it is more valuable than life. Our protagonist is already at the limit of his patience, but decided to have a little fun. Then he pointed his finger at the face of the greedy man, stating that if he does as he is taught, he could make an astronomical amount of money. After hearing that phrase, the weakest point of that miserly man was violently pressed. Our protagonist claimed to have the power to predict the future, and the truth is, he wasn't completely lying about it, as he knows some things that really happened. He said that if Kazaki cooperates with him, he could help him make a large sum of money. The miser's first impression was that it made no sense at all, so he refused to believe those words. Our protagonist already expected that he wouldn't believe, realizing that it would be more difficult than Alice had said it would be. But our protagonist couldn't give up now that he had come so far, so he took out his cell phone. Kazaki wanted to know what he was doing, and our boy stated that he was going to make one of his predictions. The miser petulantly asked if he was going to check the weather forecast for that day, but our boy showed him a photo of a particular man, saying he would be responsible for causing a traffic accident in the future, and before making his escape, he would hit the victim once more with his car, receiving a severe punishment. Kazaki said that was completely impossible because he knew that person, and they would never do such a thing. Our protagonist suggested they make a bet. After taking the envelope where all that money was, he began to write some things, stating that if things happened as he had said, the miserly man should contact him, and since he wants to make a lot of money, he will be eagerly waiting for it. Finally, he bid farewell to that supposed doctor. Kazaki simply crumpled the envelope, believing our boy was nothing more than a completely crazy person, throwing the paper in the trash with all the disdain he could muster. The next day, the most abundant news on all the channels was about the tragedy predicted by our boy, and that man was the main suspect. Kazaki was still brushing his teeth when he heard about it. It didn't take long for our boy's phone to start ringing, and he was already waiting for the call. The miser realized that it had really come true and asked what our boy had done. Kiyomi said he did nothing. All he did was contemplate the future. Now, Kazaki should go to the place our protagonist instructed, as he would be waiting for him to make a lot of money. The miser's car went to the location he received on his phone, but it wasn't what he was expecting to find, because at that location was the Dungeon Waste Depot. Our protagonist was already waiting for his arrival. Kazaki said no money is made in that place. They are surrounded by trash. Kiyomi immediately corrected this information, saying that dungeon waste is deposited there. All of it came from other dimensions, and current technology is not capable of processing all this matter, which is why much is still discarded. But our protagonist assured that 3 years in the future, all of this would change, because a technology will emerge capable of transforming all that matter into biofuel. But with the power that Alchemist possesses, things can be different, and the same result can be achieved in just 1 year. That is the opportunity he will have to monopolize the entire business chain. Kazaki felt his greed grow like never before, believing he wouldn't be fooled by something like this. He thought our protagonist wanted to use his talents to make himself rich, so he wouldn't be deceived by someone less greedy than him. Using his power, he destroyed a large mountain of trash. Our boy was impressed by what was happening, because that man's technique transformed that organic matter into a golem. Believing he was being deceived once again, he wouldn't forgive our boy, making his creature attack him. Kiyomi managed to easily escape the first attack, but after seeing that, he was sure of one thing. That opponent is indeed an alchemist, and now, Kiyomi will use his craftsman skills against him, manifesting the Aksathi sword in his hand. The single cut from that instrument was able to completely destroy the golem, scattering its pieces all over the place. Kazaki didn't expect something like that to happen, and looking for our protagonist, he couldn't find him with his eyes. While searching for him worriedly, he asked if our boy was a creator too. Answering the question, he said he could only make swords. Kazaki realized the voice was getting closer, and looking in the direction of the sound, he saw several swords. Placing both hands on the ground, the miser was using his recombination ability to defend himself, trying to create a barrier of earth from the ground. In no time, a small wall had been erected, and it was able to completely stop those swords, but only for a brief moment. Its structure began to crack, until it was completely destroyed by the swords. Kazaki felt he couldn't overpower that force. For a brief moment, he thought the sword would pierce his head, but all of that was just a bluff from our protagonist. After approaching him and holding his sword with his hands, Kiyomi said it wasn't his intention to deceive him, making it clear that he wanted to cooperate with that greedy person. He wasn't asking him to work for free, just offered him something equivalent to money. And once again, the greedy person said that money is the most important thing in this world. Even if it's just a coin, everything needs to be his. And crushing trash with his hands, he asked if our protagonist doesn't agree with this statement. But for our boy, that citizen is just a person with mental challenges. After getting up, Kazaki seems to be less suspicious, telling our protagonist that he would make the medicine he desires. Our protagonist confirmed that he really wants to help him. Then, Kazaki began to carefully clean his hands, saying he can stay calm even after getting dirty with trash. But the truth is, he remains very intrigued by our protagonist's supposed ability to read the future. He also never saw that technique of crafting things. This individual raises many questions in him, as he was able to surpass someone already at rank A. Definitely, he has much more than a normal person, and it was our protagonist's potential that captured his attention. Now that they seem to be in agreement, Kazaki revealed he doesn't believe that trash could become useful for anything. Making brief calculations, he estimated the cost of the operation, realizing that profit is proportional to how much he can produce. While he tries to think about how to reach a production monopoly before this technology is developed, our protagonist realized those words seem like Greek. However, Kazaki considers the idea much more promising. If all that is true, that dump is a gold mine. Kiyomi said his knowledge is only useful for those who can use this information for some purpose, and the greedy person assured he will do all of this alone. All the profits will be his. He just doesn't understand why our protagonist doesn't use future knowledge to become rich. Only a fool would miss this opportunity. Our boy just ignores this comment. Kazaki is also interested in the medicine, wondering what our boy managed to see in the future that awaits them, because he is very interested in witnessing all of this too. Finally, the two shake hands, and our protagonist said he will contact him soon. Finally, everything is falling into place. The next day, research began at the university hospital. Kazaki received our protagonist inside his laboratory, and he didn't go to meet the greedy person alone this time. Alice was there too. The greedy person felt honored by the presence of someone so important, but the woman is also excited to meet him, discovering who was the connection behind our boy. Kiyomi also brought a small bag with him. Inside it were the ingredients necessary for crafting this new medicine. Showing the greedy person the lunar magic stones, it's his first time seeing something like this. Just by touching them, he could feel a strong magical energy, besides them being very beautiful. Kiyomi said the stones haven't been awakened yet, and this needs to be done through the power of the alchemist. Kazaki said that statement is too abstract, but he would try anyway. But for that, he would like to know what the effects of that mineral are before awakening. Kiyomi said they are ingredients for treating the mana vortex. That left the greedy person very surprised, as he knows this disease still doesn't have a known cure. Thinking it might just be a palliative for the disease, he said he wouldn't help our boy. However, Kiyomi assured he is telling the truth. The magic of that mineral can completely block the effects of the disease. Alice asked if this is really capable of producing a cure, and once again, Kiyomi said yes. He is not wrong about this, but asked them to try to trust him. Kazaki seems quite hesitant after all this, but his greed began to scream. Seeing in our protagonist a treasure that few have access to, he started typing a message on his phone, sending it immediately to someone. Now that he had some explanations about it, he asked what kind of property he should alter in the mineral. Kiyomi said he should start with heat. Knowing where to start, Kazaki is preparing to use his alchemy powers. He clasped his hands together, initiating the process, manipulating the mineral with great concentration. Around him, things were transforming, and the whole room became much colder. Alice watches attentively what is happening, wondering what the final result will be. Because so far, the lunar stone hadn't transformed yet. Kazaki decided to increase the intensity of the intervention, enhancing the thermal efficiency of the ore. This began to produce small observable changes. Thinking this might be the right path, he continued trying. The outer layer of the ore disperses heat, so he needs to focus on the interior of that stone. By changing his approach, the changes became even more noticeable. Now he just needs to reorganize that structure. And finally, he completed his work. But after doing that, the ore had its exterior completely destroyed, becoming an almost perfect and completely shiny sphere. That is the true final result. Kiyomi watches impressed by what the alchemist was able to do. Kazaki asked our protagonist if that is good enough, and our boy is having difficulty hiding his great enthusiasm. Originally, it would take years to craft such a remedy. In the past, he couldn't fight against time, and his sister ended up dying tragically and prematurely. Quite enthusiastic, Kiyomi said that thanks to the miser, he will be able to save his sister's life, showing great gratitude to him. Alice watched that impressed. It's the first time she sees such a sincere expression on our boy's face, realizing that he cares a lot about his own sister. She believes that what she witnessed now is a historic event, as our protagonist will hardly make that expression again. Only then did she say that this achievement should be handled carefully, as it will cause a great stir worldwide. Kiyomi agrees with this and would like to avoid a public announcement now. Kazaki strongly disagrees with them, stating that they should publish this immediately, as it is an effective remedy against a disease that frightens the world. Our protagonist's sister is not the only victim. People around the world need this cure. Alice said that our protagonist can see the future, and he does not want the world to know about his power yet. Kiyomi is indeed worried, but the miser wants to insist. Their meeting was interrupted. A man outside brought news about what is happening at the hospital. To our protagonist's surprise, many people are gathered there. Kazaki has the perfect solution for this. He will take full credit for what was accomplished there. All those people were already there to learn about the newly discovered cure for the mana vortex disease. Alice wants to know what all this means, but the miser, who is also narcissistic, couldn't resist, because he was promised a way to make a lot of money. And indeed, our protagonist assured that this would happen. But he doesn't have time to entertain the media of this world. His only priority is to cure his sister, asking Kazaki not to mention anything about his family. What surprised Alice is that the miser agreed to these terms, saying he would do as our protagonist asked, keeping the truth hidden in secrecy. But he will not miss the opportunity to shine, gaining the spotlight once again. Everyone wants to know how he arrived at the cure for that disease. Several researchers were trying to develop a cure, but Kazaki achieved the result before all of them. He says in front of the reporters that this is a contribution to humanity, when in fact he is happy to have surpassed his competitors. All he can think about is the money he will receive from this. One of the reporters asked how the treatment he developed works, and it was then that he realized something brutally important. Kazaki forgot to ask our protagonist for details about the remedy and the treatment. He decided to answer what he knows. The treatment is based on magic stones. There is still much uncertainty in the results it produced, so he will not go into details. But when everything is completed, he will reveal the truth to everyone. Inside the hospital, looking out the window, Alice asked our boy if everything is okay, because he is the one responsible for making this discovery, and by the natural logic of things, he should also receive the credit for it. But Kiyomi doesn't care about any of that, since his true goal is different: to provide his sister with a normal and healthy life. The next day, news about that discovery began to spread, because the number of patients afflicted by the mana vortex is growing considerably. The difference is that now there is a treatment. The report states that Kazaki and his research conglomerate managed to make a significant contribution to this. In the hospital room where Natsu is, she is completely sedated. Alice and Niami went there with our protagonist. In their company is also the miser, as he needs to learn details of the treatment. Our protagonist asked how he can be on TV too, and the miser had to explain the basics to the boy. It's just a recording. That interview happened in the morning. He also managed to alter the properties of the other stones and went there to deliver them. Niami found them beautiful. The miser is eager to start the treatment and asked our boy what he should do. Kiyomi said that his work was already finished, which made the miser a bit uncomfortable. The next stage is carried out by a magic user, which is why Niami is in that room, and she will do everything to help our protagonist, who is counting on her talent. Kazaki finds it absurd that the presence of a doctor is not necessary, while Alice realized he is only there because he doesn't know how to proceed with the treatment. Even so, the miser tries to change the subject, but it's too easy to see through his intention. Our protagonist has high expectations. Holding his sister's hand, she managed to open her eyes but is very weakened. Trying to reassure the girl, he said everything will be fine soon, and as she has done so far, Natsu believed his words. Kiyomi picked up the stones that had been refined and held one of them in his hand. That is the beginning of her true treatment. Using magic, Kiyomi arranged all the stones on top of his sister. They began to shine intensely, and soon after, they started to extract an energy that was in the girl's body. The process seems to be painful. When that energy is removed, she will be cured. But Niami also needs to start acting. While the energy is being extracted, the healer is performing her healing on the girl's body, who immediately began to breathe more calmly. For the extraction to be carried out, our protagonist is consuming a lot of his mana. This is the real reason why he became stronger, but he realized that perhaps his level is still insufficient. It was too intense for his mana reserves. He realized he wouldn't be able to manage. But before he failed, Alice held him, preventing him from collapsing from exhaustion, while also helping him in the process. She said they couldn't fail now, so she would help him. Kiyomi became enthusiastic, realizing he would really succeed this time. The treatment continues. The miser noticed that the luminous energy caused by the treatment is getting stronger, until one of those stones began to crack completely. All of them shattered, scattering fragments through the air. It remains to be seen if that was enough to cure Natsu's condition. The miser had hidden behind the curtain and asked if the procedure had worked. Our protagonist believes it did, but his sister remains completely still, until she finally managed to say her first words after that. Kiyomi is very worried. The first thing he wanted to know is how his sister is feeling, and she said she feels better. Removing the oxygen mask from her face, she said she doesn't feel any pain. As soon as she finished speaking, she was immediately pulled by her brother, who was very grateful and emotional about what he had done, because now he managed to prevent his sister from losing her life to that disease. Niami is also very emotional about the scene, while the miser is trying to understand how the process happened. Alice dragged him outside, saying they should discuss details in a more appropriate place, because what was happening inside that room is an intimate moment for both. Thanks to that discovery, the disease that was once incurable now doesn't claim victims in the world. Even so, the situation is still delicate, and people need to remain cautious about it. The Kazaki group seeks collaboration with adventurers to produce the remedy more efficiently, as the primary ingredient is the lunar magic stone. A girl was listening to this through her cell phone. It's Natsu, who had gone out for a run after so much time in the hospital, and she stopped to take a call from her brother. Kiyomi wants to know how she is feeling. The girl states she still doesn't feel any pain and went out for a brief run, also asking where her brother is. Kiyomi is now on the highest mountain on the planet, which left his sister quite impressed. Our boy is about to start the descent route, and Natsu wants to know why he decided to do that. Our protagonist had a rather exotic motivation. The most recent task from the system required him to climb the highest mountain, and he received another key for doing so. He said mountains must be conquered. His sister found that answer odd, but if he's having fun, there's no problem. She also wants to venture around the world. Being able to move freely is wonderful. Therefore, she is already determined she wants to become an adventurer like her older brother, to collect lunar magic stones and help those who are still sick. Kiyomi was very pleased to hear these words from his sister. When the girl asked if he would help her, our protagonist assured he would, teaching her how she can become stronger. He said that when he returned home, the two of them would start climbing together, but Natsu is still not confident enough for that. A few days later, our boy arrived at the airport in Japan. The flight took longer than he was expecting, and now that he's on solid ground, he started to feel hungry. He thought about inviting his sister to join him for this meal too, but there was someone waiting for him there. A woman holding a sign awaits our protagonist. As soon as he approached her, the woman confirmed his identity. Our boy wants to know who she is and how she knew he would be at the airport that day. Without answering our protagonist's questions, she said that her master is already waiting for him. Kiyomi asked what she would do if he refused, and the woman asked him not to do that, because her master wishes to show his gratitude to him, the one responsible for developing the cure for the mana vortex. As soon as he heard that, Kiyomi became suspicious of this person. Opening the door of a vehicle, the woman said that her master already knows the whole truth, and if he's interested, he could come in too. Kiyomi wanted to resist a little longer, but inside that car, there was a lot of food. Now he is heading towards this master whom he still doesn't know, because those fruits looked extremely appetizing. Almost reaching the destination, he can see a large palace through the car window. That is the residence of the mysterious woman's master. Outside, there are some banners with a specific symbol. Kiyomi, as soon as he saw that, knew where he was. Entering the palace, the woman announces Kiyomi's arrival to her master, and he congratulates the achievement. Kiraha Daigo is an S-class adventurer and apologized to our protagonist for bringing him to that place forcibly. Impressed by the presence of that man, our boy already expected to be received by him, the head of the Frozen Elite. This clan is on the same level as Camellia Rage, and this man approached our protagonist casually, who can feel his presence even from a distance. Wondering what he wants from this meeting, he was surprised by his sudden approach. Our boy was immediately startled by that, but was surprised to be hugged by Kiraha, who did so quite emotionally. While our boy has no idea what's happening, the adventurer says that he is his savior, because the medicine he developed was able to save his wife. He was completely hopeless, but thanks to that discovery, his family was saved. Now our protagonist understands why he is so moved. Being grateful for having helped in some way, Kiraha said his life changed completely, showing photos of his wife and how she looks much happier now. Thanks to this, he can regain his happiness. Our protagonist didn't imagine Kiraha would cry so easily. The problem is that he doesn't know how the man discovered the truth, as he asked the avaricious one for secrecy. When he was about to ask him that, he was interrupted by Kiraha himself, who doesn't know how to express all his gratitude, making the best invitation he could to the boy, to join his clan too. That invitation is completely unexpected. Our boy said he is honored, but he already belongs to a clan too. Kiraha said he has something that others don't possess, an efficient clue on how to reach the S-level dungeon, the Abyss. As soon as he heard those words, our boy was surprised. The path leading to the dungeon that has been closed for several years is about to open. Kiraha asked what our protagonist thinks about that, and if he now wishes to join them too. After hearing those words, our protagonist seems swayed. Information about the Abyss is not easily granted, and the gate leading to that place is closed, which makes it practically impossible to explore that dungeon, which is practically an unexplored place. But if some conditions are met, the seal blocking its passage will be broken. That's all our protagonist knows about it, so he asked if that man really has clues about this place. Kiraha assured that everything he said is true, and to be more precise, he has a clue on how to reach the center of that dungeon, and even though Alice is talented, that is still impossible for her. The Abyss is the most difficult dungeon that currently exists, and the only ones capable of overcoming it are the elite Frozen clan. Our protagonist realized that the man was very confident, not even asking what proof he had of that. Kiraha said the secret is a monster that inhabits that place. An S-level creature, a mechanical dragon. Our protagonist was immediately surprised by those words because he knows this creature very well, and asked how Kiraha knows about it. But the truth is that he was astonished by our protagonist, who seems to know about the mechanical dragon. Kiyomi realized he needs to be more discreet, saying he heard about it through some rumors. Kiraha seems to have believed this, and even though our protagonist has helped his family a lot, he cannot tell him the truth about it. But if our boy joins his team, he will have access to the whole truth. Our protagonist began to be thoughtful. This situation is complex, because it was finding the mechanical dragon that triggered the event where he was sent to the past. Now that he has managed to save his sister, he does not wish to encounter this creature again in his life. And there are other important things happening too. He met a woman who is becoming increasingly special. In light of all these things, he apologized to Kiraha, who was immediately surprised by our boy's reaction. He tried to convince him that this is the pinnacle of every adventurer. It's not just about the mechanical dragon, but about a high-quality dungeon, and promised to guide him to the highest point. Our boy recognizes that this is an excellent proposal, but he owes a great favor to Alice, and even if he could achieve that one day, he would like to do it in her company if possible. Kiraha understood our protagonist's point of view. Regretting his refusal, he said he could not continue insisting. But the truth is, he would like to try a little more. As soon they would fight for the monopoly of this dungeon. He revealed that much progress had arrived in the world of adventurers, and asked his secretary to deliver a letter to our boy, because he was already involved in this dynamic too. The content of that telegram left our protagonists surprised. It was a plan to conquer the abyss with 5 S-level teams. Kiraha confirmed that this is a task given by the government itself, and he received this letter a few days ago. Soon, our protagonist will learn about this through Alice. The government is eager to conquer this place, since they wish to access the riches that such a dungeon can produce. Kiyomi said that adventurers also desire the riches, which is true. Kiraha said that our boy understood the situation. He should start preparing, the stage is already set, and he assured that the frozen elite will be the pioneer in entering that dungeon. Our protagonist has other priorities now, but admires the confidence of that adventurer. A few days after this meeting, Alice was called to another place. She and other leaders are gathered. In the same room is Guki, the citizen who was greatly embarrassed in the presence of our protagonist. Also present is Mimi Startel, representative of the clan that bears her name, as well as Furunoya Ginji, representative of the Mind Weepers, the very Kirihara who has already been introduced, and the girl who is gradually winning over our protagonist. All of them are gathered with the man with glasses, who is not the director of the adventurers organization, but is someone very important. They are there to discuss the task the government has given them, as it needs the collaboration of these people. The old man began to laugh at this, as it will be a great challenge for everyone to cooperate, and he began to wonder how many in that room would really be willing to do something like this. Mimi said the old man is being very rude by putting things this way, but he insists on his point of view. Just look at the facial expression of each of them, which definitely hides their true intentions. Better than collaborating is working for one's own reputation. Mimi asked him if there is anything wrong with having ambitions, because everyone wants to be in the spotlight, but this is something different. The government is asking for cooperation, and she doesn't like being blamed by old people just for being young, and the old man said she is no longer a little girl, which immediately offended Mimi, assuming a very threatening posture in that place, and she asked the old man to repeat what he had said. That was not able to intimidate him, and the old man said he would like to speak with a girl who is truly young. That's when someone banged on the table to calm them both down. Alice was the one who did this, saying their time should not be wasted and the meeting should follow its natural course. Mimi, though reluctantly, decided to agree. The old man also agreed with this, but asked for someone to serve him a cup of tea. Alice was already expecting that the interaction between them would not be friendly. All this while the government pretends nothing is happening, but asking them to conquer the abyss gives her a bad feeling about it. The portal leading to that place is breaking, and the mechanical dragon eagerly awaits the entry of humans. The government representative resumed presiding over the meeting. Abyss is the first dungeon that appeared in the world, and so far, not even the strongest have managed to return from it due to its extreme difficulty. The conditions to open the seal of its portal are unknown, and no progress has been made regarding this. Moreover, few people have managed to return from its interior, and those who did said there are many minerals in that place. As lunar stones are needed to cure an incurable disease, their demand has grown significantly. Having access to the abyss can generate a great source of wealth. And the government representative knows that it's not just that, for they might discover minerals capable of completely changing reality. Mimi began to yawn during that meeting, saying that it's already boring to listen to those desires. The old man told her to stop pretending to be innocent, as she seems more interested than anyone else there. Once again, she resumed a threatening posture, and the old man said she should be more honest. And once again, Alice needed to intervene in the situation, saying that if they wanted to fight so much in that place, she could contribute to that gladly. For her, it doesn't matter who her opponent is. Mimi thought for a few moments, and decided to calm down immediately, as did the old man. And the government representative resumed conducting the meeting, saying that the portal to the abyss had been opened, and now they have the opportunity of a lifetime. The goal of those gathered there is to conquer this place, which left the adventurer with a cap worried. Most dungeons have a boss creature responsible for guarding the place. It could be that a truly powerful creature is inhabiting the interior of the abyss. The government representative believes that those adventurers will be able to defeat it, but that man remains very worried. The man with glasses said that failure is not an option, which is why they are investing in them, and those who do not wish to participate could stay out of it. Now, this adventurer is very hesitant. Kirihara said they don't need to exaggerate, as all adventurers desire the treasures of that place. Then the assistants of that meeting began to distribute documents. Confidential information was being shared with them now. The man with the cap was startled when he read about the mechanical dragon. Mimi said that if he is so scared, he should abandon that project, but he didn't like being underestimated by that woman. In contrast, she said he underestimates the ability of someone in Class S, and should abandon his position. He ended up hitting the table so hard in frustration that it broke, because he didn't like being called weak. Mimi really liked his reaction, understanding that he was weak, even though she hadn't been explicit about it. Kirihara, seeing the two exchanging insults, began to find it quite embarrassing. That's when he decided to turn his attention to Alice. She had the feeling that something was approaching, and through the window, a creature ended up hitting that place, breaking the glass of that room. Its sudden entry ended up hitting the adventurer with the cap, who was thrown violently against the wall. That seemingly simple impact was enough to hurt him. This monster is a rank A creature, a fragment of Kulikan. The government representative doesn't know why a monster is outside the dungeon. Kirihara thought it might be the curse of the abyss. It falls upon all those who try to uncover the secrets of the dungeon, which seems to have a will of its own, seeking to crush its invaders. The government representative believes this is mere superstition. And now the creature turned its attention to him, trying to attack him with its claws. But he was saved at the last moment by Kirihara, who managed to move away while carrying that man. Alice also positioned herself to protect them, as that creature is dangerous. Roaring furiously, it revealed its jaws to those people, preparing to attack Alice this time. But she is confident in her abilities. Prepared to defend herself, she noticed that the creature was paralyzed. The monster hadn't yet understood what was happening, but someone was responsible for doing that, saying that the greedy received the punishment they deserve. The old man was responsible for this, saying that the punishment will be natural for the creature. That envoy from the abyss is weak and will receive its punishment. Several threads passed through the creature's body and began to squeeze it brutally until its body was completely sliced and its pieces scattered throughout the room. The government representative was disgusted by that scene, but was impressed by the old man's actions. To everyone's surprise, the creature began to speak, saying that it was nothing more than a small scratch. Alice was shocked by these words, while the old man tried to understand what the creature wanted. Part of its body had transformed into a small sphere, which he tried to pick up with his hands. Saying he would keep that artifact, something the government representative tried to prevent, Kirihara uttered some empty words, interest and curiosity. Alice asked what he meant by that. He told her to remember some things, as he had already had his share of encounters with it. Claiming he knows her child, he is unsure if he should inform her about everything, but she thought this is a good opportunity to get to know him better. The old man asked for everyone's attention, saying they had reached an agreement, and now he would make his exit, hoping that everyone can do their best to reach the abyss. Our protagonist was called to visit the clan's headquarters, and this is the first time he is going to that place, encountering a large palace. Already inside the building, he noticed it is very well structured. The man is at the counter trying to get an appointment with the receptionist, and he was duly interrupted by our protagonist, who said he was there to meet Alice. As he referred to her very casually, it left those people astonished. The man next to him asked what matter our protagonist came to resolve in that place, and he said he was called by Alice herself. In light of our protagonist's demeanor, the man said he should call her Takagi. Our boy said he is not a guest in that place, but a member of the clan. Knowing our boy was a newcomer, the man became even more irritated, as he should be more formal when referring to the leader, because this is a way to show respect, and he should not make enemies on his first day. Our boy said he has his own way of showing respect for others, and that man was getting increasingly irritated, while our protagonist was no longer interested in him. During their argument, a girl ended up identifying Kiyomi. She approached him with great enthusiasm. The receptionist asked if Ichinos knew our protagonist, and asked for help in that situation. After approaching, she asked why the two were arguing. She just ordered them both to stop it, and the man asked if Ichinos was referring to him, saying he should be more humble, as he became a member recently. Ichinos told our boy that the man is a bit bitter because she has some privileges, and he didn't like the arrogant attitude of the two who were disrespecting Takagi, so he decided to resort to ignorance, saying he would put our protagonist in his place. But before he could understand what happened, his body was thrown to the ground. That had been caused by our protagonist, who asked if the man was satisfied now, affirming once again that he didn't come there to play, but was invited by Alice herself. That man is in Class A, and can't believe he was nullified so easily. So he began to wonder what level our protagonist was. While they were talking in that hall, someone said Takagi was approaching. She is immediately received like a superstar by everyone. The man who had just supported our protagonist bowed before her, and Alice casually approached our boy, asking him if anything had happened. Ichino said he was bothering the interns. Alice expected something like this to happen, as some people in that place put her on a pedestal. But since they were having a meeting, she asked our boy to accompany her. Ichinos bid them farewell, while Alice asked our boy to behave. Both the receptionist and the rude man are surprised by that newcomer. Upstairs, our boy is about to enter the meeting room. As he was about to open the door, Alice apologized for making them wait. The man inside said it was nothing, as she had arrived on time. He finally met Kiyomi, saying Takagi doesn't stop talking about him. Introducing himself, he said his name is Kugami, saying it's a pleasure to meet our boy. He is a water mage in Class S. Alice said he is the brain of the team. Our protagonist finally shook hands with that man, and just from that contact, Kugami realized he is exactly as Takagi had described. Someone really strong, now they can start that meeting. Kiyomi asked if it would be just them, and the guy said yes. The other members started to act, and he said our protagonist would also collaborate in that. But before explaining everything, he would pass a small report to him. The Mindweaver clan is trying to monopolize the abyss at this very moment. Alice was already expecting the old man to do something like that, because he had collected a magic stone left behind by the mechanical dragon monster that was defeated. It seems they managed to develop a new type of armament that strengthened their entire clan. As soon as he heard about the mechanical dragon, our boy was frightened. Alice realized that her competitors are generating value with this new weaponry, and our boy wants to know what happened in that meeting. But he decided it would be better to stay quiet about it. While he tries to distract himself, Alice noticed what was happening. Our boy asked if they are also going to try to enter the abyss, and the young man said yes. However, our protagonist will not join the main team, which had already been formed. Kiyomi noticed that they have many S-class adventurers, enough to send several casually. The mage said that our protagonist will operate with a separate unit, providing him with information about it. Alice considered that strategy completely flawless, as they need to deal with a very intelligent elder. Our boy liked what he had seen, saying he would take on that role. Due to what is about to happen, several adventurers are gathering. That portal had been closed for a long time. A team cleared the way among the curious, carrying construction material. A young man almost fell on our protagonist, who politely asked if he was okay. Our boy was heading towards the portal, and by the bracelet he wore on his arm, people know he is only in Class C. The abyss is practically a death wish. In our boy's past life, he passed through there frequently, but he was not able to get past the shallowest levels. It may be that in this current life, things happen differently. Once inside that dungeon, he arrived at a place that seemed like an infinite hall. He could feel a familiar presence and began to think that Kululukan might be there, but there is no time to think about that now. The condition to reach the next floor is to finish that one within the time limit. He can't say how much time it actually is, but he estimates it to be only 10 minutes. Ahead of him, several adventurers are fighting against the monsters. He can recognize the Mindweaver clan emblem on the uniforms of some of them. As he is infiltrating stealthily, it will be better if he is not seen by these people. But as he passed by, he thought that all those people were looking for magic stones. It's the first time he sees the abyss so crowded. In our boy's path, a pillar was knocked down by the action of a creature, and now that monster also blocks his way. That is terrible for our boy's plans, because he doesn't have time to fight against it. The creature is about to focus its attention on him, but its face ended up being blown up by another person's attack. This was done by a mage who was in the company of Niami. Our boy said that Niami saved his life, even though it was the other girl who did it. As she already knows the situation, through Alice, she did what she could to help our protagonist, who thanked her. Now that his path was clear, he was heading towards the second floor, but he returned to Niami to say something to her. The girl should be very cautious with the shadows. As she is also inside that place, she must be cautious, even if she is talented. Our boy realized he was being followed by something, and his path was being blocked once again. He can't keep wasting his time. Passing through the obstacle, there was a hidden adventurer, and those creatures that were chasing our boy passed by him too. But one of them had stayed beside that adventurer, revealing itself to be a level B creature, capable of assuming the appearance of its target. It mimics the appearance, but after possessing someone, it will pursue them until defeated, which makes this opponent quite troublesome. Our protagonist still feels he is being followed, but he can already see the path that leads to the next floor. He needs to keep moving towards his goal. The time needed for this is almost running out, and the creature continues to chase our boy. The door that gives access to the next floor is almost closing. As there was little time left, Kiyomi decided to jump from the stairs, managing to slide through the small opening. Right after that, the door closed, but our boy managed to pass to the next level. So far, he is following his team's plan, and for that, he cannot be noticed by his competitors. The clan strategist said he needed to recover the hidden treasure in that room. For this, he needs to reach it within the time limit, and given the limited knowledge of the place, our boy executed the plan perfectly. The real challenge will begin now, because that place is full of monsters, and the Guardian of the Abyss appeared, a Class A creature. In that creature lies the true objective of the strategist, because our boy needs to obtain its core. Preparing for battle, Kiyomi immediately crafts a sword. In a few strikes, he manages to access the creature's core, but he still needs to defeat his enemy. After leaping into the air, he managed to drive his sword into its armor, finally ending that battle, letting the creature's core fall to the ground. After collecting that artifact, the first part of the plan was completed, but things were not going as planned. He wasn't sure if it could be a trap. After inserting the artifact in the designated place, a secret door opened before his eyes, and on the other side, there were several other guardians waiting for our boy, who saw it positively, as all that experience would be collected by him. Before the combat began, a voice behind him said that all of this is surprising. Our boy looked back, very surprised, because the old man was in his company too, and he didn't expect to find a secret room in that place. The old man noticed that someone was moving in an interesting way, so he decided to follow our boy. Kiyomi knows that Ginji is the leader of the Mindweaver clan, but doesn't know how he managed to follow him. Observing our protagonist, the old man realized that he seemed to know the place, and surely must know much more. Our boy said he has nothing to discuss with him, and the old man kept insisting on the dialogue, saying they are colleagues in the profession and should share his wisdom with him. At that moment, our boy realized he needs to keep fighting the creatures. He managed to dodge the attack of the first one, and soon after, our boy was completely ignored by the monster, because it thought it was a good idea to attack that old man. Its strike was approaching him, yet the old man did not move from where he was, because the creature was completely paralyzed by his abilities. Invisible threads had appeared everywhere, and now he is able to control the body of that monster, which now returned to attack our protagonist. The old man said their situation is problematic and hopes our boy starts to cooperate with him. Kiyomi realized the old man was trying to threaten him, saying this is not the behavior he should have with someone whose cooperation is necessary. The old man said the young man was being too harsh with his words, saying that an accident could happen in that place, and that kind of thing is very common. Now he is using his ability to control all the monsters, but our boy did not feel intimidated by that. While dodging the attacks, he prepares his sword to attack as well, managing to cut the monsters with great ease, but their numerical advantage makes the whole process quite difficult. The old man noticed the young man has talent for dodging. Even so, he continues to press our protagonist hard, sending the monsters against him tirelessly. Kiyomi is ready to put an end to another one of them, completely destroying the core of that creature, leaving only its pieces falling to the ground. To our boy's surprise, the old man's threads managed to gather the pieces of the monster, and the old man said he was getting tired, proposed that our boy give the information he desires, and maybe he could help him. Kiyomi already realized the monsters are being controlled by the old man's ability, so what he needs is to take down the main body. As he advanced towards the old man, the threads of that man clung to the tip of his sword. Thus, he managed to change the trajectory of our protagonist, who was being pulled back by his own sword. Resisting that control, he tried to attack the old man once more, But the old man possesses a disposition that even the young do not have. After he dodged that afternoon, Kiyomi is determined to keep pressing his enemy, sending against him cuts from his sword dance technique, managing to cut the old man for the first time. Upon being hit by this blow, the old man needed to gain distance, because our protagonist had not decided to stop attacking. It was then he realized he could no longer control his own body. He was completely paralyzed before the old man, who, slowly recomposing himself, said that mediocre swordsmen are no match for him. That technique is the infinite thread. The more the boy moves, the more trapped he will become. The outcome of that battle was decided from the start. Our boy saw none of that happening. The old man said that for being hit in that combat, he would spare the boy's life if he gave the information he possesses. If he preferred, he could talk about the sword that appeared in the air in his hands. The old man wants to know how that happened. Our protagonist said he will not tell him the truth, and the old man continued to pressure the boy, saying his life could be ended because of this stubbornness, saying he would start with the tips of his fingers. At that exact moment, a system task appeared for our boy, stating that he should defeat that insolent old man. Our boy started laughing at that, which piqued the old man's curiosity. The system wouldn't need to ask him twice to do that. It was then that the old man realized the fight was far from over. Our protagonist not only managed to break free from those threads, but also crafted several swords, and they were completely cutting through the old man's ability, something he had never seen in his entire life. Now that he can move again, our protagonist is ready to win that duel. The old man realized that overwhelming presence is on the same level as Alice. He made a big mistake in assessing that newcomer. He tried to make the creature create a passage through the wall, but the monster's strength is insufficient to produce that kind of damage. Our boy said that room was designed so no one could leave until the monsters are defeated. That only made the old man even more irritated. He went back to controlling the creatures, intending to defeat our protagonist. To combat them all, he crafted the blazing sword, Durandal, and with a few strikes, those monsters were completely obliterated. The poor old man couldn't believe what he was seeing. Our protagonist furiously advances against him, while the old man tries to protect himself by creating a shield with his threads, but his protection proved ineffective against that attack, and the old man, who could have collaborated with our boy, ended up suffering a mortal wound. As soon as his body fell to the ground, the system said the task was completed, immediately delivering a reward to our boy, a magical growth stone. Now he can turn his attention to what truly matters, for there is still work to be done in that place. Our video ends here. If you liked it, leave your like. See you next time. Bye-bye.